Your wife's destiny is at the highest red rank, destined to become an empress who shall rule through the ages. Yet, because you transmigrated here, you were bound to an investment return system, granting you the ability to perceive the destiny of all living beings. Little did you know, your empress wife is a reincarnator, and she too has been bound to a peerless prodigy system, although previously you had bullied her miserably. It turns out the Lin family and the Yi family were family friends for generations, but years ago when beasts invaded the city, the entire Yi clan tragically perished, leaving behind only one daughter, Yi Beihai. Your father took her into the Lin residence to ensure her safety, yet you, born into wealth and doted upon by your family, indulged in all manner of debauchery. From climbing trees to steal bird eggs to peeping at the maidservants bathing, you often sought to bully her intentionally, yet deep down you harbored feelings for her. On that day, you and Ye Beihai followed your father's instructions to head to the Qingyun sect for their entrance examination, and seeing that it was growing late, you stopped to rest at a roadside inn. As the waiter served a table full of food, Ye Beihai walked straight up to her room on the upper floor. Facing this, you helplessly shook your head. Everyone knows that a person whose entire family sacrificed themselves is never truly simple. But being a soul who has lived 2 lifetimes, I am already 16 years old, why have I yet to receive a system? As the thought concluded, a voice suddenly echoed in your mind. Greetings, I am here, who is speaking? Seeing you jump up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, the waiter nearby was deeply bewildered. Sir, what has come over you? It is nothing, it must just be a ringing in my ears. Just as you began to wonder if you were suffering from auditory hallucinations, the voice sounded in your heart again. The host has asked with sincerity, so this system has no choice but to manifest. Are you saying that if I had not asked, you intended to remain dormant for your entire existence? Very well, what is your function? This system is an investment system. The host may invest in any individual. Investing in those with varying destinies will yield exponential returns. If the target achieves a significant breakthrough, you shall also receive corresponding rewards, and there is a possibility of obtaining unexpected bonuses as well. In that case, can I invest in myself? Ding, the Destiny God's Eye has been activated for the host. Whether or not you choose to invest depends entirely on your own decision. In other words, it is possible. Suddenly, an attribute panel appeared before you, seemingly undergoing a more user-friendly optimization. Name, 16, Foundation, None, Destiny, Gray, signifying innate deficiencies. Assessment, innate defects resulting in a frail constitution and declining vitality. Aside from being somewhat handsome and having a good father, you possess nothing. Fortunately for you, you have encountered this system. Although this attribute panel of yours is brutally honest and lacks any sense of tact, it must be admitted that you truly possess no value for investment. You have no appetite remaining to finish your meal, so you raise your head to look toward the fellow clansmen dining and resting in the hall. Name, Hyung. Foundation, None. Realm, Blood-Chi Realm. Assessment, Ordinary Origins. As humble as a dandelion easily discarded. Background, from a destitute family currently struggling to earn money to repay the burial expenses borrowed from neighbors. You scan several individuals, most possess a white destiny, with the highest reaching only green. That is, until your gaze shifts toward the secluded corner. Before your eyes, a glimmer of blue light emerges. Generally speaking, there are no candidates particularly worthy of investment. The only person who seems remotely capable, Wang Hu, harbors a grudge against you. Name, Wang Hu. Foundation, Leopardback and Tiger Bones. Realm, Third Pulse of the Blood-Chi Realm. Destiny, Green, and possesses a modicum of talent. If he practices with diligence and hardship, he may yet attain success. However, he is narrow-minded, vindictive, arrogant, and prone to falling into extremist paths. You then turn your gaze toward the room at the end of the second-floor corridor. What rank of destiny will she possess? With that thought, you carry a bowl of chicken soup up to the second floor. When Ye Beihai sees that it is you standing at the door, her brows knit slightly, and she does not even bother to acknowledge you. As for you, you remain rooted to the spot in a state of complete bewilderment. Information regarding the other party appears before your eyes. You stare for a long time, unable to recover your senses. Name, Ye Beihai, age 16, physique, Timun Emperor, body, current cultivation, none. Fate, but possesses the Emperor's bone with mysterious ice as its core. With clear water as its spirit and a phoenix-like appearance, her destiny is marked by many trials. Yet she can always turn misfortune into fortune. Though her wings have not yet fully grown, when the winds of change arrive, she will surely reign over the 9 heavens and the 10 lands. The phoenix shall teach and rule across the 6 realms and 8 directions. Due to recent circumstances, before the Taiyan Moon Emperor body opens its meridians, it manifests externally as a dead pulse body. Before she can fully control the power of the Taiyan, she must endure the agony of extreme cold every single day. According to the judgment of the heavens' fate divine eye, fates from lowest to highest are ranked as black, gray, white, green, blue, purple, and beyond the golden. There exists the red destiny. And this red destiny is something that even a non-great emperor cannot possess. Could it be that this wife of mine, who has yet to cross the threshold, is a being destined to rival the founding martial emperor? Regaining your composure, you feel a sense of existential doubt, yet you still extend the bowl of chicken soup. Drink this chicken soup while it is still hot. Ye Beihai takes the soup without a word and shuts the door. You offer a bitter smile and have no choice but to turn away. Yet looking at the bowl of soup, Ye Beihai lets out a cold, soft laugh. A shameless scoundrel like you acting with such kindness? I will not fall for your tricks. This is likely just another attempt to toy with me, yet you could not have known that I have been reborn on this very day. Suddenly a crisp, clear sound echoes in her ears. System binding successful. This system is the Peerless Heaven's Pride system, dedicated to assisting the host in reaching the path of invincibility. However, Yibehai's expression remains indifferent, showing little reaction. Path of invincibility, you say? This emperor has already walked that path once. In this life, I shall only become stronger. Host, please do not be impatient. If you overcome the trials, the system rewards will grant you the fortuitous opportunity to become an immortal. Hearing this, Ye Beihai's breathing halts for a brief moment, for immortal is a word that exists only in legends, a status that reigns above all common people, representing true transcendence and absolute immortality. Yet, ever since the Great Xia dynasty established its capital and secured the realm, the path to be, even though she was the Empress of the 9 heavens and 10 earths in her past life, she ultimately failed to ascend to immortality. Composing her thoughts, she spoke indifferently. What exactly do you mean by this challenge? This system will categorize the heaven's pride of the current generation within a specific region and establish a ranking. Once the rankings are unveiled, rewards will be distributed based on the host's position. Immediately after, a multitude of rules regarding the challenge surfaced within Yi Beihai's mind. Even so, Ye Beihai remained filled with confidence. After all, in her previous life, she was the very embodiment of an unrivaled heaven's pride, never once having tasted the humiliation of being suppressed by another. At this moment, the system issued a prompt asking whether to activate the penalty mechanism, noting that upon activation, the rewards would be significantly more bountiful, but one would be required to impose a humiliating punishment upon the top-ranked individual after the rankings are announced, a task that is often sought after by many, yet impossible to achieve. This was not mere arrogance on her part, for in her previous life she had reigned supreme and no one had ever managed to defeat her. Now that she has been reborn, she can maximize her rewards. Why would she refuse? Back on your side, you had just returned to your quarters when the system appeared. Investment successful. For one bowl of mountain ginseng chicken soup, the reward is 1 Heaven Spirit Origin Replenishing Pill. The Heaven Spirit Origin Replenishing Pill, a 6-cloud grade elixir, is a supreme grade treasure capable of mending innate flaws. Shortly thereafter, you saw a crimson pill manifest upon the table. You picked up the elixir and cast it into your mouth. Moments later, you felt an awe-inspiring surge of power, feeling an urge to return home and give that old man a sound thrashing. The 6-cloud grade elixir was indeed true to its reputation, and this was merely in exchange for a bowl of chicken soup. This return on investment was simply preposterous, although this was likely due to the nature of the investment target. On the morning of the second day, seeing that Ye Beihai had only a bowl of white porridge before her, you pushed a plate of eggs toward her and asked, "Is this all you are having for breakfast? You need to eat more eggs to get proper nourishment." Seeing Ye Beihai coldly take an egg, you immediately lowered your face and apologized. "Regarding the past, I offer you my apologies. I do not expect a few words to wipe away our old grudges. If there is anger in your heart, that is only fair." Hearing this, you were taken aback for a moment. The tone of Ye Beihai's voice was less one of forgiveness and more of indifference, as if your previous provocations were not even worth her concern. You nodded slightly and said nothing more. "It seems I have read too many novels and let my imagination run wild." Ye Beihai's reaction was exactly in line with the assessment of the heavens' mandate divine eye. Those who remain indifferent to glory or humiliation often travel the furthest. In truth, your assessment is not wrong. In her distant memories, your talent was mediocre, barely enough to enter the Qingyun sect. After wasting a year in the outer sect, you were expelled. Yet at that time, she had already become the most radiant talent of her generation. Although reborn, she notices you seem somewhat changed, but to her it matters little, for she is certain your name would not be found anywhere on the Donghuang region's rankings. Perhaps you do not even qualify as a passerby in her life, and she never allows herself to be distracted by the irrelevant. Just as the two of you were lost in your own thoughts, your system interface appeared, granting you a 1,000 tael silver note issued by the Han Thong Bank, which is accepted for circulation at all major financial establishments. If only she would eat a little more. Wouldn't that allow me to feast my way into a fortune of 10,000 strings of cash? I must prepare a midnight snack for her tonight. 2 days later, you arrived at Xiang City, situated at the foot of the Qingyun sect. Although you looked at everything with the wide-eyed wonder of a country bumpkin in the capital, your purse had grown considerably heavier over the last 2 days. Because Yi Beihai's 3 meals a day had earned you banknotes worth 10,000 taels, and even 1,000 taels of gold. Yet, upon entering the city where land is as precious as gold, you realized you were not as wealthy or noble as you had thought, especially since a single room at an inn cost 200 taels, making you feel truly impoverished. After all, in your small town, the finest accommodation cost only 50 taels. But what was even more awkward was that there was only one guest room remaining, and it was named King Mei. While you stood there in hesitation, Ye Beihai had already stepped into the room. "Very well, it seems I was being narrow-minded." As you followed her into the room, something suddenly occurred to you. "That's right, why don't we find a pharmacy to seek treatment for her?" After all, before Ye Beihai unlocks her meridians, her Taiyan Moon Radiance physique subjects her to excruciating cold every single day. Though you have yet to find a solution, perhaps visiting a pharmacy in a city of this scale might yield some useful results. This time, Ye Beihai did not refuse. "Very well, let us go and see." Before long, you arrived at a pharmacy. The old man at the pharmacy immediately discerned that Yi Beihai harbored a tyrannical, extreme yin force within her body. However, there was no effective solution for the time being. One could only use pure yang pills to suppress it. You bought her 20 pills without saying a word. This action caused a slight ripple in Yi Beihai's heart. Afterward, you took her for an aimless stroll through the city. After all, this was your first time visiting the city of prosperity. When night fell, you arrived at the snack street in Ziyang Prefecture. You bought 2 skewers of the local specialty, willow leaf grilled fish. One bite and it was fragrant, succulent, and entirely devoid of any fishy odor. Even the bones were crispy enough to crumble. Seeing Ye Beihai staring at you eating, you held out a skewer and asked if she wanted to taste it. There is no need. Why did you buy the pure yang pills for me? Back when you were with me, you suffered many grievances. Consider it compensation. It was not a significant expense after all. Moreover, once I enter the Qingyun sect, I will have far more wealth. Where does this fellow derive such confidence? I recall that in my past life he was quite mediocre. How could he possibly shine so brightly in the future? Thinking of this, she turned her gaze toward you once more. Suddenly, the night breeze stirred the lanterns, casting your spirited expression in flickering light and shadow. Witnessing this scene, Ye Beihai was stirred by a long-buried memory. She remembered her younger self, standing amidst a crowd of spectators, kneeling before an elder of the Qingyun sect, and swearing an oath that she would definitely open her meridians within half a year. Back then, where did I find the confidence to do such a thing? Shaking off the memory, she nodded solemnly. I accept this favor. As soon as the words were spoken, the system's notification rang out. Investment of 12-3 pattern pure yang pills successful. Your words have altered the target's state of mind. You have successfully changed the life trajectory of the investment target. The feedback reward will receive a critical multiplier. Congratulations to the host for receiving special feedback. You were slightly confused. The Daughter of Destiny is indeed worthy of her title. To attain such enlightenment in this state, it is clearly an omen that a formidable power is about to emerge. Contemplating this, you ask, try a bite. It is quite fragrant if you do not wish to eat. Very well, as the little fish flies towards you, you return to the guest room, unable to suppress a series of distant thoughts. Although you have known one another for many years, this is the first time you have shared a room together. As the large bed curtains are lowered by her soft hands, obscuring her enchanting figure from view, you finally withdraw your gaze. You then lie upon the soft couch to examine the reward you have just received. Zhuant, an immortal body, an immortal essence tempered through the swirling red dust, transformed into a mortal form. It contains infinite mysteries. Do you wish to accept it? Upon accepting, your mind feels as if a lightning bolt has torn through dark clouds. With a thunderous boom, you fall into chaos, losing all sense of self. Shortly thereafter, you lose consciousness and sink into a deep slumber. Meanwhile, Yi Beihai consumes the pure yang pill and sits in meditation. Early the next morning, you open your eyes. Your gaze is profound, as if concealing a sea of stars within. It is calm and clear, like a tranquil mountain spring. On the surface, you remain the same as you were before, yet simply by standing there, you exude an aura of harmony with the natural world. After sensing the changes, you open your attribute panel. Name, 16 talent, Zhuant, an immortal body, cultivation realm none. Testament, possessor of an immortal body, a chaotic fate. Your future is impossible to determine. Recently, your relationship with your childhood sweetheart has thawed. Regardless, it is better than remaining mere strangers. Gazing at the information on the panel, you widen your eyes in shock. Why has my destiny become unknown? Putting it aside, you reason that anything produced by the system must be peerless. You will simply have to unlock its secrets in time. You glance at Yi Beihai, who has yet to awaken. With nothing to occupy your time, you decide to head into the streets to test your luck. You wish to see if you might encounter a suitable candidate for investment. 2 days pass in the blink of an eye, and Ye Beihai remains in the room, never once stepping out. During these 2 days, you encounter all manner of potential investment targets. The majority are quite ordinary, with only the rarest of individuals possessing the blue-tier potential. The encounters are bizarre and varied. Some seek wealthy benefactors because their academic pursuits have failed, while others, burdened by excessive wealth and the monotony of life, seek to experience the hardships of poverty. There was even a burly giant man who harbored a secret desire to wear feminine attire. Even if you wished to invest in these ventures, you found yourself powerless to do so. Of course, the vast majority were still ordinary people. It was thanks to this that you received a great deal of feedback. However, the items useful for martial arts cultivation were extremely scarce. The majority were merely bizarre and eccentric objects. There were paintings, toys, cooking ingredients, and beauty products. There was even the bodice of a maiden who had never known a man. This method of casting a wide net yielded far too little, so you summarized your experience, concluding that quality was far more important than quantity. From now on, unless there are special circumstances, you will no longer proactively invest in white or gray grade items. On the morning of the 3rd day, Ye Beihai finally achieved a successful breakthrough in opening her meridians. This meant that her long-obscured talent had finally seen the light of day once more. Her face, usually as cold as ice, rarely revealed a hint of a smile. Naturally, this could not have been achieved without the pure yang pill you gifted her. When you brought 2 steamed buns and a bowl of white porridge before her, she took the bowl and smiled faintly, saying thank you. Your movements faltered slightly, and your eyes widened in shock. You never expected this icy beauty to know how to express gratitude. I did not hear that clearly. What did you just say? Beihai said nothing more and began to consume the white porridge. After finishing breakfast, the two of you set out for the Qingyun sect. Today was the very day the Qingyun sect opened its gates to recruit disciples. However, the carriage could not advance any further when it was still 10 miles away. The crowd was so dense that they packed the main thoroughfare entirely. You had no choice but to dismount and proceed on foot, yet the scene before you left you utterly astonished. All around you were youths. It felt reminiscent of students gathering on a school field for morning exercises. After about half an instant stick of time, you finally arrived before the mountain gate. There were many Qingyun sect disciples dressed in robes of various colors. Before the disciples sat 7 deacons. As 3 morning bells resonated, a short, stout elder began to announce the commencement of the examination. Aptitude is the first threshold of martial arts cultivation. If one's aptitude is too poor, the path of martial arts will be fraught with difficulty. Even if one exerts 10,000 times the effort, it is but a drop in the ocean. Those with inferior aptitude should not waste their time and may depart of their own accord. However, not a single person moved to leave. After all, everyone who came here either held absolute certainty in their heart or was the type who would not shed a tear until they saw the coffin. The short, stout elder nodded upon seeing this. In that case, form a line and come forward one by one for the bone assessment. As soon as the words fell, countless youths spontaneously began to form a line for the examination. The deacons appeared to have mastered a specialized technique. A mere pat on the shoulder was enough for them to roughly gauge an individual's aptitude. The Qingyun sect classifies aptitude into 4 grades, Jia, Yi, Bing, and Ding. One must at least possess Bing grade aptitude to qualify for entry into the mountain gate. Many factors determine one's innate talent, and aptitude is merely one among them. Even so, only 1 or 2 out of every 10 reached the Bing grade or higher. This first trial alone threatened to eliminate 80% of the applicants. As you stood in line, your heavenly fate divine eye remained active, allowing you to discern exactly who would be selected. Just then, the old woman ahead gestured toward Yi Beihai, saying, "Little girl, it is your turn." As Yi Beihai stepped out from the crowd, she immediately drew countless gazes, simply because she was far too beautiful. Standing there with a cold and ethereal grace, it was as if all things around her fell silent, making it impossible for anyone to ignore her presence. You rubbed your chin in contemplation. According to your experience with novels, unless something unexpected occurred, there were only 2 possibilities. Either she was a monstrous genius or she was a complete waste of potential. One who bears the weight of great destiny could never truly remain hidden among the masses. You were not proven wrong. The old woman's brows knitted together instantly, and her robes began to flutter despite the lack of wind, revealing that she had decided to exert her internal energy to test Yi Beihai's aptitude. The commotion drew the attention of everyone nearby, and even the other deacons could not help but be curious, for not even the assessment of a Jia grade genius had ever warranted such a display. Your wife truly lives up to her name as a reborn empress, for the aptitude she revealed was superior Jia grade, whereas even Murong Xiao, hailed as the unicorn child of the Xiang Manor, barely reached the inferior Jia grade. Yet Murong Xiao was still regarded as the greatest genius of the past decade. This serves to show that your wife is a genius among geniuses. Despite being the focus of every eye in the area, Ye Beihai maintained a demeanor. In truth, she was capable of even higher aptitude. The reason her rank was designated as top grade was simply because the Qingyun sect's grading system stopped there. Before long, several elders were embroiled in a heated dispute, all vying to claim Ye Beihai as their own disciple. It was not until the sect master spoke that they finally fell silent. Then it was finally your turn. However, your aptitude test revealed you to be of 3rd grade entry level. In reality, this outcome was entirely within your expectations. Ever since you transmigrated to this world, you have been nothing more than a talentless cultivator. Even this meager aptitude was only achieved after consuming a Luin elixir. Yet you kept a calm perspective, nudging Ye Beihai, who stood beside you, with your shoulder. Success is 30% destiny and 70% hard work. Many people cannot even make it through the mountain gates. I already consider myself quite fortunate. In truth, there was one more thing you left unsaid. What is there to panic about? This young master has the system. Observing that your nonchalance did not seem feigned, Ye Beihai nodded in approval. Very well. Such a temperament is worth this emperor's assistance. How far he goes will depend on his own fortune. Just then, Wang Hu achieved an upper grade result. Aside from the 2 top grade anomalies, Wang Hu possessed the finest innate talent present. To call him 1 in 10,000 would not be an exaggeration. He began to revel in the sycophantic praise of the surrounding crowd. Wang Hu cast a provocative glance in your direction, leaving you to smile bitterly to yourself. What are you looking at? Believe it or not, one glare from me, and you would drop dead instantly. While you were lost in thought, Wang Hao, Wang Hu's cousin who had joined the sect long ago, arrived with a robust, middle-aged man in tow. Master, this is my cousin Wang Hu. Not bad. He is truly blessed with the physique of a tiger and the back of a leopard. This frame of yours is better suited for my tiger-leopard thundering hand technique than yours is. As the words left his lips, a short, stout elder furrowed his brows. Futu, wait until he enters the inner sect before you take him as your disciple. There is no need to rush. Wang Hu was instantly overcome with joy and hurriedly performed a formal salute. Greetings, master. However, you must first pass the heaven-ascending stone stairs. After Futu departed, Wang Hu held his head even higher, as if he had the word arrogance branded onto his forehead. He strode directly toward Ye Beihai and with absolute confidence cupped his hands. Miss Yi, from this day forth, we are fellow disciples. He was met only with a cold, dismissive silence from Yi Beihai. Stung by the public humiliation, Wang Hu's face flushed a deep crimson. He could only vent his anger upon you. Lin Qingfeng, we are from the same village. Once Miss Yi and I achieve greatness, we will not forget you, he said, only to be ignored by you once again. Furthermore, you noticed that his fate aura, originally a pale blue, was slowly shifting into a dark, ominous hue. Even the evaluation of his character had darkened to stubborn and arrogant. He remained oblivious to the fact that he was being used as a mere test subject by the Fudu inner sect deacon. His future was shrouded in gloom. Although Wang Hu was so infuriated that he felt as if his lungs might burst, he was forced to suppress his rage, leaving behind only a weak and hollow threat. Lin Qingfeng, just you wait. Shortly thereafter, the second stage of the examination, the heaven-ascending stone stairs, commenced. This would be the final trial. Those who ascend 10 steps may enter the outer sect. Those who ascend 50 steps may enter the inner sect. Those who ascend 80 steps become personal disciples. Whoever reaches the summit shall become the personal disciple of the Qingyun sect leader. The time limit was set to 1 incense stick. As the trial began, Wang Hu stepped onto the stone stairs with an air of immense confidence. Upon reaching the 50th step, he felt as if Mount Tai were crushing down upon him. Yet he refused to abandon his ambition. He could only continue to crawl upward at a turtle's pace. Following him, the other examinees began to make their ascent. Ye Beihai, however, walked as if she were traversing flat ground. The elevation exerted almost no pressure upon her whatsoever. She quickly left the others far behind in her wake. The crowd could no longer maintain their composure. The display was simply too outlandish. Is this young maiden even human? Did she come here specifically to shatter the record for reaching the summit? Seeing that everyone else had already begun, you finally took your first step, and as your focus shifted, you realized, are these not just ordinary stone stairs? Watch me. A smirk tugged at the corner of your lips as you leaped 3 steps at a time, while the elders on the high platform began to discuss Yu Beihai. Elder Shangwu, known as the Poison Ghost, once again proposed taking Ye Beihai under his tutelage, but the sect leader coldly refused. Everyone knew that the old woman was only clear-headed for 3 hours a day. Meanwhile, the sect leader hesitated, gently touching the letter concealed in his sleeve. Previously, your father had written to the sect leader. He claimed that Ye Beihai was your betrothed. He requested that the sect leader arrange for the two of you to cultivate together. However, the root talent you displayed was simply unworthy of Ye Beihai. Just as he was deep in thought, the clear, resounding cry of a phoenix suddenly echoed across the heavens. Beihai was seen standing at the end of the heaven-ascending stone steps when countless birds from all directions began to converge upon her, circling her obediently. Upon closer inspection, a noble and mysterious moon-white spirit bird seemed to manifest behind her. Witnessing this scene, Sect Master Shangguan Wenshigeng of the Qingyun sect abruptly rose to his feet, crying out in astonishment, "This young woman is capable of manifesting the 100 birds gathering, the phoenix appearing in the Taiyan realm." At this moment, Wang Hu was only 40 steps from the summit. Just as he prepared to surge forward, you appeared beside him, as if you had been there all along. Deeply resentful, Wang Hu raised his hand, intending to shove you down. Without a single word, you delivered a swift, powerful kick. Wang Hu let out a wretched scream. Unable to withstand the gravity weighing upon him, he tumbled straight down the steps. The commotion here quickly drew the attention of many onlookers, as none had expected you to be capable of reaching the 80th level, especially since your composed and leisurely demeanor was even more breathtaking than that of Ye Beihai. The short, stout elder could not help but turn his gaze toward the elderly woman who had previously assessed your bones. "Deacon Han, you certain you did not misjudge this boy's aptitude? Perhaps I am simply advanced in years, my eyes failing and my movements sluggish, leading me to err." As these words were spoken, the high-ranking officials fell into a deep silence. They refused to believe that Deacon Han could have made such a mistake. When you ascended to the peak, a flicker of strange emotion appeared in Ye Beihai's eyes. You smiled at her, remarking that it was quite a coincidence for her to be here as well. As you finished speaking, a black crow landed upon your head. Witnessing this, the high-ranking figures on the viewing platform instantly widened their eyes, for even those with the lowest cultivation among them had reached the Guanshan realm, granting them the ability to see things hidden from the naked eye. Thus, in their vision, a figure appeared behind you, back turned to all living beings. That silhouette appeared ordinary, yet it held a profound, immeasurable depth. At one moment it seemed like a fisherman on a river, at another like a scholar reading by candlelight, or perhaps a general stepping into the Golden Throne Hall. It seemed that if one were even slightly careless, that silhouette would shift, only to return to its original form once they regained their senses. It was still you, the youth with fluttering robes. This little fellow was reflecting his own true self, which was truly monstrous. The elders exchanged glances, seeing the absurdity reflected in each other's eyes. They had never imagined such a thing could occur. Yet one thing was beyond doubt: a seemingly ordinary youth such as yourself was anything but ordinary. After a brief deliberation, the sect master decided to accept. As for you, despite being a core disciple, you only projected the image of a mere mortal. Meanwhile, Ye Beihai projected the golden crow resembling a gloomy moon. By comparison, it is evident that your wife possesses far greater potential. After Ye Beihai was taken away by the sect leader, only you, Lin Jiang, and Mu Rongxiao remained, all of whom possessed the talent of core disciples. Lin Jiang was swiftly recruited by an elder. As for Mu Rongxiao, he sparked a fierce competition among 3 different elders. Ultimately, he became a disciple under the lineage of Elder Han He. While the elders were fighting over the other two, you took the opportunity to observe the attribute panels of these two geniuses. Name, 16, Rootbone, Mantis Thrasher. Traits, Green Snake, Lizard, Breath-Drawing Shoulders. Realm, 4th Meridian Blunchy Realm. Destiny, Blue. Evaluation, his talent is quite formidable, but he is overly ambitious and rigid, making him prone to breaking. However, it is not impossible for him to advance further. Having recently become a core disciple of the Qingyun sect, he desires a weapon of sharp grade or higher. Age, 16, Root Bone, Nether Dark Physique. Realm, 5th Meridian of the Blood and Key Realm. Destiny, Blue. Evaluation, his father is human. His mother is a transformed flood dragon. He possesses a kind nature but is deeply influenced by his bloodline. If he can combine the strengths of both, his future will be limitless. However, should their flaws converge, he will become a regional calamity. Recently, he has been suppressing his instincts, hoping to pacify the bloodlust within his marrow. After reviewing Mu Rongshao's information, you couldn't help but gasp. Did he not possess the bloodline of an auspicious beast? How could his father be human while his mother is a flood dragon? It appears Mu Rongshao's father was a truly ruthless man. Even the legendary Xu would have to offer him tea and respect. You silently take note of where these two reside. Only then do you realize that no one has stepped forward to recruit you. Suddenly, a lethargic voice shatters the silence. Are you willing to become my disciple? This disciple is willing. I offer my greetings, master. As soon as these words were spoken, the other elders looked at you with pity. Sensing something was wrong, you immediately used the divine eye of destiny to inspect Kangwu. Name, Kangwu. Age, 27, Rootbone. Southern Brightfire Lotus Physique. Realm, 7th Heaven of the Inner Realm. Destiny, Purple. Evaluation, the youngest elder of the Qingyun sect. You may question her character, but never doubt her strength, for she possesses an extraordinary background. Having recently run out of money for wine, she is currently plotting how to swindle some silver from the elders of the other peaks. She is also quite interested in the sect leader's core disciple Ye Beihai. Impressive. No wonder those old men had such strange looks in their eyes. No matter how one looks at it, Kangwu does not seem like a proper master. So it turns out I wasn't accepted for my extraordinary natural talent, but rather because she took an interest in my wife. Regardless, this is my first time witnessing such a rare sight. Even if I learn nothing, this is a long-term investment that is bound to pay off. Initially, you thought having a female master would be quite enjoyable. Little did you know this master is a massive pitfall. For when the senior disciple in charge of internal affairs explained the monthly stipend, aside from you receiving a stack of debts longer than a scroll, everyone else was showered with heaven-sent treasures and rare elixirs. You were left completely stunned. It turns out everyone else receives benefits. Yet when it is my turn, I am burdened with debt. Am I even a true disciple? As for your young wife, Ye Beihai, she is truly remarkable. The sect master has granted her the right to choose any private villa as her residence. Must understand that a private villa is a privilege reserved for deacons, and not just any ordinary deacon, but one who has made significant contributions to the sect. Beyond its exceptional environment for cultivation, it is a clear symbol of status. Without the slightest hesitation, Ye Beihai spoke 3 words, Shushui Pavilion. Hearing this, you suddenly woke up to reality and asked, Senior brother, where shall I stay? On the Kunyu Peak of Elder Shangwu, there is likely no place for you, junior brother. You should build yourself a thatched hut as soon as possible. You can request the necessary materials from the Internal Affairs Hall. These words left you petrified on the spot. Suddenly, Ye Beihai spoke softly, You may stay with me. Hearing this, you trembled and turned your head in utter disbelief. Is this still the block of ice I once knew? Elder Qian Bufan, who had been watching the spectacle all along, finally spoke up. The scenery at Shushui Pavilion is exquisite. It would be wonderful for you two to live as a pair of immortal lovers. Elder Qian, you are overthinking this. We are not a couple. Yet he clearly remembered the sect master mentioning this matter. Furthermore, a young lady has personally invited you to live with her. In this day and age, no ordinary relationship would involve sharing the same quarters. While Elder Qian was lost in thought, Ye Beihai's voice rang out beside him. We are indeed not a couple. Right. Elder Qian, you have truly misunderstood. Perhaps I am getting old and prone to babbling nonsense. Forgive me. Yet you could see that the old man seemed somewhat disappointed. You offered a bitter smile and retracted your gaze from Ye Beihai. Is this block of ice beautiful? Using the term peerless beauty to describe her would not be an exaggeration, yet she is far too cold, both in her demeanor and her touch. Thinking of this, you could not help but sigh. In your original memories, she did not possess this icy disposition. It was only after the family tragedy struck that he became this way. If you were in his position, you would likely not be able to maintain such optimism and composure. As for Ye Beihai, in her past life, countless dragons among men pursued her. Had she not severed her 7 emotions and 6 desires, and focused entirely on forging her path against the currents of the martial arts river, she would never have reached such a pinnacle. This lifetime she maintains that same steadfast Taoist heart. Upon arriving at Shushu Pavilion, you are both very satisfied with the environment here. You merely feel a sense of irony. After all, it was Ye Beihai who once lived in the Lin residence, yet now the roles are reversed, and you are the one living under another's roof. Upon entering, Ye Beihai immediately ordered you to clean the room and boil a barrel of bathwater for her. Her demeanor was as if she had lived here for a long time. She adapted so quickly that you, the owner of Shushu Pavilion, were instantly reduced to a hard-working little caretaker. After finishing the cleaning, you began to boil the water. As the steaming hot water filled the red wooden barrel, the system notification arrived. Congratulations, host, on successfully investing 1 barrel of bathwater to help the investment target cleanse her body. You have received an investment return of 1 gold ingot. After a long silence, you called out into the courtyard, 1 barrel of bathwater surely isn't enough, right? You boiled more for her, and by the next morning, you had prepared breakfast for your wife. Not long after the meal, the sect master's carriage driver arrived in a luxurious chariot to pick up Yehai. Seeing this, you sighed helplessly. Look at that. This is the true treatment a core disciple receives. I am afraid I will have to walk up the mountain. As soon as you finished speaking, Ye Beihai lifted the carriage curtain. Before I head to Kunyu Peak, Qingfeng, could you prepare a few jars of fine wine? Leaving those words behind, the carriage sped off, trailing dust in its wake. An hour later, you carried 2 jars of wine to the summit of Kunyu Peak. Looking at the dilapidated wooden shack before you, the corner of your mouth twitched. If you did not know this was within the Qingyun sect, you would have mistaken this place for having. You called out for your master twice but received no answer. You pushed open the wooden door, only to find Shang Yu wrapped in blankets on the bed. She was curled in a fetal position, a faint trace of drool lingering at the corner of her mouth. Master, your disciple has arrived. Shang Yu let out a lazy snort like a sleeping pig and turned over to continue her slumber. You had no choice but to lean close to her ear and whisper, Master, the head elder is here to collect the debt. Shang Yu bolted upright like a spring, though her expression shifted to confusion the moment she saw you. Who are you? I am your disciple, Lin Qingfeng. A disciple? I remember now. So, what is it you need? Should you not be teaching me something? That does hold some merit. I intended to teach you something yesterday, but without wine, my memory is not what it used to be. As the words left her lips, you uncorked a jar of wine. Shang Yu's nose twitched instantly, sniffing at the air. Is this Lu Yanyang? This is the special brew from Zidwang Shilipo, aged for 5 years. Only when the wine takes on an amber hue can it be considered a masterpiece. A 10-year vintage is even rarer. Where did you find this? Saying this, she snatched the jar from your hands and downed it in one go. This sight was so pathetic you could hardly bear to look at her. Only after her craving was satisfied did Shang Yu wipe her mouth. I remember now, that old ghost Han, he dared to claim I didn't know how to teach a disciple. Could I possibly let that slide? He merely took in 1 Murong Xiao and dares to boast before me? Bah! So I made a wager with him. Master, what did you wager with him? The 9 Peaks martial tournament is approaching. If the disciple of Kunyu Peak ranks higher, he must help me clear my debts at the Internal Affairs Hall. And if you lose? You doubt your master? Have you no faith in yourself? She then produced a small booklet. Take this. It is my secret mental cultivation method. I will teach you the basics today. You took the booklet and gazed clearly at the name of the manual. Fireheart Lotus Birth Technique. The name itself suggests a formidable power. You intended to seek her guidance on the parts you found difficult to comprehend, but when you looked up, you realized she had already drifted off to sleep, leaving behind only the 2 empty wine jars you had brought, drained to the last drop. Big sister, can you be any less reliable than this? You lamented. Just as you were torn between laughter and tears, the system notification echoed in your mind. You provided a 10-year age Rouge Louis Chen Nong wine and received a reward of 10 years of martial arts enlightenment. This decade of enlightenment can be applied to any martial technique, granting the host 10 years of mastery in that specific art. One must understand that martial arts realms are divided into 6 levels: entry, proficiency, minor achievement, major achievement, perfection, and the realm of transformation. Even among the mundane techniques found in the Zhanghu, few practitioners can reach the level of perfection, let alone the realm of transformation. Take your father, Lin Dailong, for instance. He has spent nearly 20 years practicing the Gale Palm, yet he has only just reached the level of major achievement. Naturally, this also depends heavily on one's personal aptitude. While your own comprehension is not exactly heaven-defying, it is at least considered sharp. You stepped out of the room, sat firmly on the ground, and funneled the entire decade of martial enlightenment into your Fireheart Lotus birth technique. In an instant, a flurry of visions flooded your mind, giving you the sensation that you had truly devoted yourself to the study of the Fireheart Lotus birth for 10 years, successfully advancing it to the realm of minor achievement. That sudden, profound epiphany left you with a wondrous sensation, as if you were soaring through the 9 heavens, so powerful that the surrounding grass and trees began to sway of their own accord despite the stillness of the air. At that very moment, Shang Yu, who had been deep in a drunken stupor, suddenly opened her eyes, startled by a sense of harmony with the heavens. Who is this person with such divine luck? Simultaneously, within the martial arts hall of Qingyun Peak, your young wife left the sect elders absolutely stunned. Your cold and aloof wife was truly peerless. In a single moment, she had already grasped the entry level of the high-grade technique, bone cleansing and origin searching. Even Elder Han He, who was hailed as a genius in his own youth, had required an entire month to achieve the same feat. More preposterous still was his discovery that Ye Beihai had already cleared one of her meridians. Han, his eyes widened in disbelief, thinking, at this rate, will this girl not be able to clear all 13 meridians in just a few days? In truth, that observation was only half correct. Ye Beihai did not merely intend to clear the 12 standard meridians, she sought to open all 24, creating a great circulation within her own body. Once achieved, she would be invincible among those in the same inner breath realm. Faced with such a monstrous talent among monsters, the 3 elders, Han Yan Qian Bufan, could only feel a deep sense of inadequacy. Originally, because the sect master was burdened with many responsibilities, he had specifically sent the three of them to mentor Ye Beihai, but it appeared that the presence of these three old men was no longer required. Especially as they watched Ye Beihai practice, they felt that their own techniques were riddled with flaws. At that very moment, Shi Jing suddenly thought of you, his heart gripped by a sudden shock. This won't do, I must go check on that boy immediately, lest that madwoman ruins everything. However, upon his arrival at Kunyu Peak, he sensed someone channeling the primordial energy of heaven and earth to cultivate. This phenomenon of channeling the primordial energy is known as the unity of heaven and man. This state is the pinnacle that all martial practitioners long to achieve. Initially, he assumed it was Shang Yu cultivating, but when he saw it was actually you, he was struck dumb with astonishment. For you had not only mastered the Fireheart Lotus technique without any guidance, but had also entered the state of the unity of heaven and man, and had even successfully opened one of your primary meridians. Just as you slowly opened your eyes and saw the old man Shi Jing standing before you, you prepared to speak, only for him to interrupt. You do not be distracted by idle chatter. The unity of heaven and man is a fortuitous encounter one cannot seek by force. Even though you did not fully understand what this state entailed, you heeded his words and closed your eyes to continue your cultivation. Meanwhile, Shi Jing kicked open the door and seeing Shang Yu still fast asleep, veins bulged on his forehead in irritation. You drunkard, how can you still be sleeping? Shang Yu was startled awake, her expression filled with annoyance. Old man, you had better have a good reason for this. Your disciple is currently in the state of the unity of heaven and man outside. How are you still sleeping? Shang Yu tilted her head, assuming the old man was babbling nonsense. But when she stepped outside and looked, she froze instantly, and at that same moment the system notification resounded. Congratulations to the host for displaying the unity of heaven and man, causing Shi Jing to gain enlightenment. Investment reward, 3 gourds of Icefire wine. Investment reward, 20 years of martial insight. After consuming the Icefire wine, the dual sensation of ice and fire will temper your constitution. It is a sacred treasure for enhancing the strength of one's physical body. Upon receiving the rewards, your heart brimmed with joy. You never expected that others watching you cultivate could also yield investment returns. This reward was essentially a windfall. 2 hours later, you ceased your cultivation. Shi Jing lingered, reluctantly withdrawing his gaze, his face filled with profound admiration. Well done, kid. Elder Tai, you are too kind. My father speaks of you often at home. After all, at their age, their cultivation bottlenecks have become deeply ingrained. Observing the unity of heaven and man state has brought him great enlightenment. Furthermore, your father, Lin Dailong, was once his disciple. Upon hearing you mention his father, Tai Jing stroked his long beard and let out a sigh. Dailong was such a promising child, it is truly a tragedy. Had he not met with that accident, he would have already been an inner sect deacon by now. Each person has their own destiny. My father says that preserving his life was entirely due to Elder Tai's intervention. If father had not been injured on his way back to his hometown and encountered mother, I would not even exist. One loses in one aspect only to gain in another, that is the way of things. Dailong is truly blessed to have raised such a fine son. As soon as the words left his mouth, Shang Wu suddenly wrapped her arms around your neck to stake her claim. Hey, this is my disciple. Don't you even think about poaching him, you old man. Watching Shang Wu act out so boldly, he could only offer you friendly advice. If you wish to learn martial arts techniques, you should go to the martial arts hall. To your surprise, your nominal master simply went along with the flow. That's right, the basic techniques taught at the martial arts hall are more than sufficient for you. Hearing this, you couldn't help but roll your eyes. Sister Wu, I think you're just being lazy, you thought. However, now that I have the cultivation manual, I truly do need to learn some combat techniques. I might as well see if there are any suitable investment targets while I am there. At this moment, the outer sect disciples were all diligently practicing at the martial arts hall. Among them was Wang Hu, the very person you had previously kicked down the heaven-ascending stairs. That outcome resulted in him being relegated to the outer sect, while you had already ascended to become a true disciple. Thinking of this, he began striking the sandbag in front of him as if it were you to vent his frustration. Just then, you stepped into the martial arts hall. The moment he laid eyes on you, Wang Hu punched the sandbag with enough force to send it flying. He intended to intimidate you, but was met only with your utter indifference. Infuriated, Wang Hu immediately sought out his cousin Wang Hao. The two began to sneer and mock you in tandem. You paid them no mind and began to survey your surroundings. Your gaze drifted and settled upon a young man sitting in the corner. Seeing this, Wang Hu and his companion could not help but burst into laughter. As it turned out, this individual was named Xiao Chen, a notoriously talentless trash of the outer sect. However, observing how intensely he practiced his technique, you felt compelled to approach and observe his movements. Senior brother, would it be convenient for me to watch you practice? If you wish to watch, then watch. However, I cannot guarantee you will be able to learn anything. With that, he executed a set of 6 harmony fists, not only demonstrating the techniques with precision, but also taking the time to explain the intricacies to you. His explanations were remarkably clear, and as you watched, you could not help but feel curious. The proficiency this senior brother possesses in the 6 harmony fists is impressive. It hardly matches the typical standard of an outer sect disciple. You quickly committed the movements to memory and asked, "May I ask how to address you, senior brother?" "I am Xiao Chen." "So it is as I thought. In the novels, is there anyone with the surname Xiao who is truly ordinary?" Pondering this, you immediately activated your heavenly fate eyes, and at a single glance you were struck with astonishment. To your surprise, this senior brother Xiao possessed a purple tier destiny. Based on the recent encounters displayed on the attribute interface, you finally understood why he was mocked by Wang Hu as a piece of trash. Name 18, Root None, Realm, Early Blood Energy Realm, Destiny Purple. Assessment. Although his spiritual roots are average, his comprehension is exceptional and his temperament is indomitable. He is like a piece of raw stone containing a hidden precious jade within. He is a late bloomer who is destined to carve out his own path in the future. Recent encounter. He possesses an exotic treasure, the 7-star Ancient Jade. This ancient artifact requires a vast amount of blood energy to activate, which has caused Xiao Chen's realm, which was originally at the 10th level of the blood energy realm, to plummet continuously. After processing this information, you made a decision. In the future, I shall seek out individuals to invest in. Anyone with the certificate A or you will be thoroughly scouted and exploited. As you were lost in these thoughts, Xiao Chen whispered a warning junior brother Qingfeng. If you have a conflict with Wang Hu, you should leave here immediately. Why do you say that, senior brother? The martial arts hall has a rule. Disciples may challenge one another to a duel, and the challenge party is not permitted to refuse. What kind of preposterous rule is that? Are they not concerned about people getting injured? Do you mean to say that Wang Hu will intentionally challenge me later? Xiao Chen nodded helplessly and sighed. It was clear he had suffered under this practice many times before. Sure enough, Wang Hu approached you, with a sinister grin plastered across his face. I have never challenged a core disciple before. Brother Lin, you surely wouldn't refuse me, would you? You cast a look of disdain at him. After all, you could integrate your martial insights and the 6 Harmonies fist at any moment, and it is likely that a single strike from you would be enough to easily defeat this man. As Wang Hu rubbed his hands, ready to strike, a branch imbued with a biting chill suddenly tore through the air. Before Wang Hu could even react, the branch slashed across his throat, nearly severing his head from his neck. The one who struck was Ye Beihai, standing at the entrance. Seeing this fierce, icy beauty, the blood drained from Wang Hu's face and he began to tremble uncontrollably. Wang Hao gathered his courage and shouted, Junior Sister Yi, we are fellow disciples, how can you resort to killing so casually? You had best provide me with an explanation, he demanded, though he was, as expected, completely ignored by the icy beauty. She then walked to your side and said, follow me back to Chushui Pavilion. Just as you were about to speak, you were interrupted by a dark-faced Wang Hao. Junior Sister Yi, you just nearly killed my cousin. Even as the sect master's core disciple, you have no right to act so recklessly. Hearing this, Yu Beihai paused and replied, when I kill, there is never any nearly. Having said that, she walked out the door. None of the outer disciples along the way dared to meet her gaze, while your own expression was quite complex. That is it, exactly that. This is the aura of a destiny-favored empress who carries the emperor's bone. Afterward, you joyfully followed your young wife onto a luxurious carriage to return to Chushui Pavilion, where Ye Beihai picked up a dry branch to practice her swordsmanship, testing exactly what level of her sword technique she could unleash at her current cultivation realm. You stood at the kitchen entrance and asked, is there anything you would like to eat today? Anything will do. I have never been one to crave food, she replied. You need not spend so much effort on such trivial matters. That is only because she has never tasted true delicacies. I am not boasting, but if I were to take to the kitchen in earnest, my cooking would be unparalleled in this entire world. However, Yi Beihai was too focused on her practice and did not hear a word you said. You could not help but sigh inwardly. Human beings are not machines. If one ignores their own needs for too long, their state of mind is bound to suffer. At that moment, an outer sect deacon arrived carrying various exotic beast meats including bone-piercing ox, green-scaled fish, and cliff goat. Receiving the meat, you could practically feel yourself salivating. Beef, lamb, and fish, having everything needed for a hot pot, it would be a disservice to your identity as a transmigrator not to prepare one. Half an hour later, an intense, intoxicating aroma drifted through the courtyard. You sat by the hot pot dipping a slice of bone-piercing ox meat sliced as thin as a cicada's wing. After dipping the meat and adding a dash of chili oil, you placed it into Ye Beihai's bowl. Watching her take a light bite, you asked with eager anticipation, it is passable. That said, the speed at which Ye Beihai moved her chopsticks was clearly faster than before. You see through it but do not expose it. In that case, eat a little more. The meat of exotic beasts is also beneficial for martial arts cultivation. To satisfy one's appetites is human nature, it is only natural. When it is time to indulge, one should enjoy it. The hot pot bubbled, sending steam into the air. Your wife's peerless beauty appeared ethereal through the mist. You could only watch her cheeks move as she ate, unsure if she had even heard your words. After the meal, Ye Beihai resumed her sword practice. You began to clear the table. Suddenly, the system notification echoed. Invest 1 serving of exotic beast hot pot, reward 1 profound crystal. The profound crystal contains the purest essence of heaven and earth. It can be used to refine elixirs, forge weapons, or act as a power source for various magical artifacts, proving infinitely useful. Upon reading the description, you were overjoyed. This hot pot was worth every bit of effort. Immediately, a milky white crystal manifested in the palm of your hand. The aura it emitted felt strangely familiar to you. Is this not the very item required to open the 7-star ancient jade? A single crystal alone is worth an astronomical price. You have truly struck gold. It seems you must ensure your wife is well fed in the future. As you put away the profound crystal, you remembered something. This very crystal could help senior brother Xiao Qin unlock the 7-star ancient jade. Since I have no use for it, I might as well invest it in him. In truth, you have begun to discern the rules of your investment system. The level of destiny is the foundation of the reward. Furthermore, the more beneficial the investment is to the recipient, the greater the reward. Xiao Qin possesses a purple destiny. The reward will undoubtedly far exceed a single profound crystal. After tidying up, you began practicing the Six Harmony Fist. Drawing on your previous experience and infusing it with 5 insights into the martial way, you attained the level of mastery in just 1 hour, all while having only opened a single meridian. Afterwards, you sat cross-legged to circulate the Fireheart Lotus technique. On the other side, Ye Beihai, who was practicing her swordsmanship, suddenly knitted her elegant brows. His cultivation method is actually capable of drawing upon the origin energy of heaven and earth. This is certainly not a technique found within the Kangwu sect. It resembles a more unique innate constitution. Ye Beihai searched her memories of the many geniuses she had encountered, but none possessed a constitution like yours. A moment later, she cast the thought aside. Why has his transformation been so significant? Regardless, his constitution matters little. After all, it cannot compare to the 10 absolute bodies. That evening, you carried a basin of meat into Ye Beihai's room. This exotic beast meat needs to be kept cool. I will leave it in your room. In truth, there is one more thing you haven't said. A refrigerator is like a block of ice. Everyone who uses it praises its chill. If this were in the past, she would undoubtedly have cast the meat aside and issued a warning. Do not enter her chambers so casually. But the fresh, savory taste of today's hot pot seemed to still be dancing upon her tongue, and she realized that if she offended you, she would no longer be able to enjoy such meals. Shaking her head, she drew the bed curtains, and as the bone-chilling cold permeated the room, she gradually drifted into slumber. That night, she dreamt. She dreamt of the scenes from when she was the last sovereign of the heaven's will. Chaotic images flashed by, causing her brows to knit ever deeper. Early the next morning, you arrived at the martial arts hall, only to discover that Xiao Qin had been severely wounded by someone. It did not take much thought to deduce that this was in all likelihood the work of Wang Hu. Without a second word, you pulled him into a corner and handed him the box containing the profound crystal. Xiao Qin opened it and his eyes widened in shock. He immediately realized just how precious this item was. And furthermore, the jade pendant resting upon his chest began to resonate intensely. However, he not only suppressed his greed and thanked you for your kindness, but he also warned you not to reveal such an item so easily. You had not expected Xiao Qin to possess such integrity, and you immediately concluded that this man was worth befriending. Ultimately, under your persistent persuasion, he finally accepted the profound crystal. Although he did not offer a long-winded expression of gratitude, his steady gaze spoke volumes as he uttered a single sentence. Junior brother Lin, I shall never forget this grace for as long as I live. You naturally understood the bond between brothers. Everything was understood without further words. You simply smiled and patted his shoulder. Then in the future, if I require your help, I certainly will not stand on ceremony. Looking into Xiao Qin's eyes, you surmised that in the future, he would be willing to risk his life for you without a hint of hesitation. Thinking of this, your heart soared with joy. It is often said that more friends lead to more paths. If I continue this pattern of investment, once they have matured, will I not become the most influential figure in the Great Moon Pavilion? Just as you were deep in thought, the system delivered your reward. Congratulations to the host for a successful investment of 1 profound crystal, receiving the 6-body ultimate weapon return. The 6-body ultimate weapon utilizes the sharp essence of armaments to temper the physical body, paving the path to the indestructible extreme realm. Once the technique is mastered, 10,000 weapons shall bow in submission, and your peerless physique shall be forged. Every weapon he wielded saw its destructive power amplified manifold. In an instant, the complete essence of the martial art flooded into his mind. You discovered that this was an exceptionally refined form of physical tempering, capable of enhancing one's mastery over refined weaponry. Although the difficulty of mastering it was immense, the rewards far outweighed the arduous path ahead. You resolved to pursue it nonetheless. After all, when wandering the martial world, one cannot avoid the blades of others. No matter how fine one's armor, it is inferior to the strength of one's own body. For the sake of your own safety, you were determined to master this technique. Just then, Wang Hu returned to cause trouble, leaving you no time to react. You saw Xiao Qinchai step forward to intervene. It was clear that Elder Xiao was one to act when necessary, yet you were swifter than he. With a thunderous crash, Wang Hu was sent flying, slamming heavily into the ground. You looked down upon him from above, wearing a calm and indifferent smile. You are far too weak. Sparring with you offers nothing to be gained. Witnessing this scene, Elder Xiu stood beside you, his mouth agape in shock. Junior brother Lin, did you not just begin learning the 6 Harmonies Fist yesterday? How have you become so formidable in just one day? Seeing his lackey humiliated, Wang Hao shamelessly demanded a spar with you. It must be known that you had only just entered the blood condensation realm. Yet he was already in the inner breath realm, and he still sought a spar with someone of the blood condensation realm. Even though the outer sect deacon of the martial arts hall attempted to intervene, Wang Hao relied on his status as an inner sect disciple to disregard him entirely. He suppressed his cultivation to the early stage of the blood condensation realm and lunged towards you. At that moment, a surge of intense fighting spirit welled up within you. You could not help but be stirred. Perhaps it was the Xuanjin immortal body reacting to Wang Hao's approach. You were just about to tell Elder Xiao to step back, yet you realized that at some point he had already vanished from sight. While you were caught in confusion, Wang Hao's fist plummeted towards you, but your strike arrived before his, despite having started later. A single treacherous blow struck him directly in the ribs. Wang Hao stumbled back, shaken, never having expected that your Six Harmonies fist had already reached the great perfection stage. Enraged, he ceased suppressing his cultivation and threw a punch straight toward your Dantian. Yet in the very next moment, Wang Hao was sent flying backward like a cannonball. A graceful figure suddenly flashed before your eyes. You immediately called out. Your master appeared like a tigress whose territory had been violated, her eyes burning with a fierce murderous light as she glared at everyone present. You understood immediately. It was no wonder Elder Xiao had vanished earlier. He had gone to summon reinforcements. Well played, Elder Xiao. As these thoughts raced through your mind, Shang Yu pointed a finger at Wang Hao and shouted, "You scoundrel, how dare you lay a hand on my people?" An inner disciple daring to strike a core disciple. There must be someone behind this pulling the strings. As these words left her lips, the outer sect deacon, Hongfeng, wiped away cold sweat, his legs trembling uncontrollably, for all the veteran disciples knew well. In the Qingyun sect, one would rather offend the sect master than provoke this ninth elder. Seeing that the veteran disciples dared not answer, Sheng Yu sat down arrogantly in the master's chair and cast a sidelong glance at He Hongfeng. "You go to Shenbing Peak and tell Futu to crawl over here. If I do not see him within a quarter of an hour, I shall pay him a personal visit." Hearing this, He Hongfeng felt as though he had been granted a reprieve and scurried away in a panic. At this moment, Xiaoqin let out a soft cough and whispered into your ear, "It is said that Shenbing Peak was once very tall, second only to the Qingyuan Peak." You immediately looked toward Shenbing Peak and noticed that a massive section of the summit appeared to have been sheared off. Before you could even ask, Elder Xiao continued. Later, Elder Han had a falling out with Elder Shang Yu, and the mountaintop was simply blasted away by Elder Shang Yu. You could not help but widen your eyes, then looked back at your beautiful master, who was sitting cross-legged while sipping tea, and suddenly felt that the entire situation was absurdly surreal. Sensing your gaze, Shang Yu beamed and waved her hand. "Good disciple, come here. You aren't injured, are you?" You stepped forward, but before you could feel moved, you heard her continue, "Once Futu arrives, we must squeeze him for all he is worth. Do you have the confidence?" You couldn't help but break into a cold sweat. No wonder your master arrived so quickly. Not long after, Futu walked through the entrance, and upon seeing his disciple embedded in the wall, uncertain whether he was dead or alive, while Shang Yu sat grandly in the high chair sipping her tea, he could only suppress his anger and demand an explanation. When Shang Yu calmly finished recounting the events, Futu angrily scolded the disciple, calling him a useless piece of trash. Immediately afterward, he hoisted the unconscious Wang Hao and prepared to depart, but before he could take 2 steps, he was locked in place by Shang Yu's killing intent, causing even the hair on the back of his neck to stand on end. Shang Yu spat the tea residue into her cup, her face filled with disdain. "Your Shenbing Peak still owes me an explanation," she declared. "How about this? Provide me with 10,000 caddies of cold iron, 1,000 caddies of red gold, and 10 caddies of iron essence. If you are even a fraction short, don't even think about stepping out of this door." The onlookers could not help but click their tongues in shock, because this demand was equivalent to the entire 10-year output of Shenbing Peak. Even Elder Han he might struggle to produce such an amount. Elder Fudo could no longer restrain himself. "Do not push your luck." "And if I do?" she retorted. Before the words had even faded, a scorching aura permeated the air, making it nearly impossible to breathe. You then caught sight of a flaming lotus blossom blooming upon your beautiful master, appearing eternal and indestructible. Elder Fudo's momentum faltered instantly. For even if this madwoman Shang Yu were to lose her temper, the sect master himself would have to concede 3 parts of respect. You immediately understood the situation and stepped in to mediate. "Master, Elder Fudo is merely an executor of Shenbing Peak. He truly cannot produce that much. Your disciple has not suffered any injuries, so perhaps you could reduce the compensation?" "Very well, disciple. How would you suggest we settle this?" You nodded and immediately wrote down a list, most of which consisted of the fine wines that Shang Yu favored, along with several other precious miscellaneous items. Although it was unavoidable that they would be bled dry, it was at least far more reasonable than the previous demand. Seeing the master and disciple singing from the same hymn sheet, Elder Fudo had no choice but to take the list and suffer the loss. Once the crowd had dispersed, Shang Yu's willow leaf brows danced with joy. After laughing, she unexpectedly pulled you into a tight embrace, even burying your head against her chest, nearly causing you to suffocate. If you were asked to describe Shang Yu's figure at this moment, you would not hesitate to utter the words, suffocating, in the most literal sense. You managed to pull your head free only with great difficulty. Then Shang Yu spoke suddenly. "As expected of my disciple, you have already learned 3 parts of my craft." Hearing this, you gave a wry smile. "Master, could you share a portion with me?" "Very well, I shall divide it. 1 portion is yours." Afterward, Shang Yu brought you to Shenbing Peak. Under Han He's instructions, Fudu handed over all the items to Shang Yu. At that very moment, a system notification echoed within your mind. You never expected that assisting your master in extortion would count as an investment, a massive profit. While you were secretly pleased, Shang Yu and Han He began discussing a wager involving their disciples. The stakes of that bet were far beyond what the items in your possession could compare to. Shang Yu, naturally unwilling to pass up an opportunity to earn wealth, accepted Han He's challenge to send you into the Shenfeng cave to see exactly which level you could reach. After all, Han He's genius disciple, Murong Xiao, had already reached the 2nd level while only at the 5th meridian of the Blood Essence realm. The Shenfeng Cave is filled with murderous weaponry. Some of these weapons can even capture souls and seize spirits. Entering is a dual test of both body and mind, and even Shang Yu has never reached the final level of the Shenfeng Cave. For the sake of your safety, before you entered the cave, Shang Yu handed you a small bell. This is a spirit connection bell. If you cannot withstand the pressure, shake it twice, and your master will come to pull you out. You thanked your master. Indeed, the reputation of the Shenfeng Cave is well deserved. Having only walked 50 steps on the first level, you had already reached your limit. Thus, you poured the remainder of your 5 years of martial arts insights into the extreme weapon body. In almost no time, the extreme weapon body reached grand completion. You channeled the surrounding murderous aura into your body to continue tempering your physique. Feeling that the timing was right, you concluded your cultivation and headed toward the second level. Upon entering the second level, a dense wave of murderous intent surged forward, throwing your consciousness into turmoil. You hurriedly produced a clarity pill and consumed it, causing the sensation to dissipate. After walking 100 paces forward, you saw the genius Murong Xiao sitting cross-legged, practicing his technique. However, what shocked you was that Murong Xiao's face was now ashen and darkened. It was clear that this inner disciple who possessed a semi-demonic constitution had reached a life-or-death juncture. One could say that in a single thought lies heaven and in another, hell. Recovering your focus, you noticed that Black Key was nearly covering his entire face. Even dragon horns were beginning to sprout from his head. His consciousness was on the verge of fading away entirely. Without a second thought, you fed him a medicinal pill. A long while later, Murong Xiao opened his eyes, and realizing you had saved his life, he quickly expressed his gratitude. Thank you for your assistance, Brother Lin. I was careless and allowed the murderous intent to invade my consciousness. I fear the situation. The body of a half-demon is often influenced by its bloodline. Yours must surely belong to the dragon lineage. Just a moment ago, I saw horns sprouting from your head. As the words left his lips, Murong Xiao unexpectedly collapsed to his knees. I beg of you, do not tell others. Rest assured, I shall keep this secret buried deep. Then I thank you greatly, Brother Lin. By the way, what was that medicinal pill you gave me to consume just now? It is this. It is called the heart cleansing pill. I bestow the remainder upon you. Having said that, you continue to head toward the third level. Murong Xiao recovers his senses and intends to stop you, but realizes he cannot even manage a few steps, and upon seeing the bottle was filled entirely with green-patterned heart-cleansing pills, he suffers a psychological collapse. After all, he is someone who grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth. For the first time in his life, his poverty has limited his imagination. He does not even know the true worth of these items, because to those in need, these are priceless treasures. He feels such gratitude that he wishes he could kowtow to you twice more. Thinking that you intend to enter the third level of the Divine Wind Cavern while still in the Blood Key realm, he leaps out of the cavern in search of reinforcements. It must be said that this old Murong is indeed worth befriending. As for the third level, even your extreme soldier body refinement technique struggles to withstand it. These weapons were all once possessed by masters of the inner realm. Looking at them, it is as if one can see the past through the sharp, murderous intent radiating from these renowned blades. It is likely that they could directly erode a person's consciousness. Having walked less than 10 steps, you finish the icefire liquid. Immediately after, you circulate your extreme soldier body refinement technique, continuing to temper your physical form using the razor-sharp murderous aura of the weapons. It is unknown how much time has passed when Han He, Shang Wu, and the others arrive at the third level. They are instantly left stunned by the scene before them. They behold you surrounded by dozens of renowned blades, each one radiating an aura of gentle obedience and submission. After all, to be recognized by a single renowned weapon is already a monumental stroke of fortune. To have dozens of renowned weapons acknowledge you as their master simultaneously, it is enough to make Han He wonder if there is something wrong with his eyes. Even Shang Wu, who is usually unrestrained and defiant, is left speechless. Also felt their perception being completely overturned, but very quickly their eyes began to shine with increasing brilliance. That is right, Elder Han He, I recall the rules of your Shenfeng Pavilion. It seems that as long as a divine artifact acknowledges one, you are permitted to take the entirety of that artifact, are you not? You, madwoman, did you come to my place to pillage my stock? You have misremembered. Every disciple is permitted to take only one blade from the Shenfeng Pavilion. That is incorrect. I recall it was not like this in the past. The past is the past, and the present is the present. While the two of them were arguing, you gradually regained consciousness. Understanding the situation, you stated that you did not take any divine artifact. Shang Yu was not only unsurprised, but in fact delighted. Then, once you are able to enter the fourth level of the Shenfeng Pavilion in the future, we shall return to make our selection. Elder Han He, do you not agree? The moment these words were spoken, Elder Han He's eyelids twitched incessantly, for the fourth level could be considered the crowning treasure of Shenbing Peak. Seeing this detestable old man suffer a loss, Shang Yu triumphantly patted your shoulder, but upon doing so, she discovered a clue. Little Feng Feng, why is your body so hard? Hearing this, your brow furrowed, yet this supreme soldier body cultivation technique truly possesses extraordinary effectiveness. At the very least, you feel that if you were to endure, a slap from your master would no longer cause you pain. This is merely the first day of training. In the future, it will become even more powerful. Once the intensity of my physical body increases, I shall make another trip into the Shenfeng Pavilion. The object that resonated with me must be hidden even deeper. You only need to invest to become stronger, and investing in your wife will only make you stronger still. Meanwhile, that genius Murongzhao whom you invested in earlier is currently as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. After all, you are his savior. Just as he was about to lose his mind with worry, Elder Han He brought Xiang Yu and you out from the cave, and Murongzhao immediately jumped in front of you, waving his fingers. Brother Lin, do you still recognize me? How many is this? Brother Murong, do you not only have 5 fingers? Then, what is 5 plus 5? You have not turned into a fool. Your intelligence remains intact. That is truly excellent. Brother Murong, I thank you very much. The moment the words left your lips, you were hauled onto the carriage by Xiang Yu. The beautiful master seemed to be in excellent spirits, striking the horse's flank firmly with her whip. The horse let out a pained neigh and galloped forward, leaving a trail of dust in its wake. Xiang Yu did not take you back to Kuan Peak, but instead headed toward Shushui Pavilion. Seeing that dusk had fallen, you took the opportunity to start a fire and prepare a barbecue. At first, Shang Yu only tasted a small piece, but she soon began eating without pause. Even Ye Beihai, the young wife, gave it a high rating, proving that the flavor was truly exceptional. Suddenly, Shang Yu reached out to snatch the grilled fish from Ye Beihai's hand, though she failed to take it. This left the beautiful Supreme Master somewhat displeased. I say, little Ye Beihai, you are the one who best understands the virtue of respecting one's elders, so naturally this grilled fish should be offered to me as a sign of respect. You are not my master. Besides, you have already eaten quite a lot. If a young lady eats too much, she will put on weight. I am still at an age where I am growing after all. You spend every day with my good disciple, so just ask him to make some for you next time. Looking at Shang Yu's sulking posture with her arms crossed, Ye Beihai was suddenly reminded of the past. Within those fading memories of the eastern wasteland, there were only a few significant individuals who left a deep impression on her, and among them was Shang Yu during the collapse of the Qingyun sect. Had it not been for Shang Yu, she likely would not have survived her escape from the Ziyang mansion. Shaking her head to cast away these distracting thoughts, her gaze revealed a glimmer of resolve. In this lifetime, those tragedies would absolutely not be repeated. At this moment, you walked over to the two of them carrying a jug of wine, for as the saying goes, fine meat must be accompanied by fine wine. Having said that, you poured a small cup for each of them. The liquid in the cup shimmered with dual hues of red and blue. Shang Yu twitched her delicate nose, instantly perking up. What wine is this that smells so fragrant? Master, this is Icefire wine. Upon hearing this, a flash of astonishment sparked in Ye Beihai's eyes. After all, Icefire wine is not something a minor sect like the Qingyun sect could easily obtain. Only great sects and clans would use it as a reward for disciples with exceptional potential. Just as she was wondering where you had acquired it, Shang Yu finished the Icefire wine and suddenly leaned in close to you. Good disciple, where did you get this wine? You immediately leaned back to maintain a respectful distance. Reporting to Master, this wine was obtained. Oh, so you possess such a fortuitous encounter? To think you could enter the 3rd level of the Divine Wind Cave unscathed. While Shang Yu did not find this explanation problematic, Ye Beihai took a sip, already understanding the truth in his heart. She had likely deduced that you had received some form of inheritance. As you spoke with Shang Yu, you instinctively picked up a wine cup and took a drink. Only after drinking did you realize you had mistakenly used your young wife's cup. You felt embarrassed and retrieved a new cup for her. You then poured her a full glass. Yet, the lake of her mind, which had been calm until now, seemed to ripple with a faint, indistinct tremor. One must remember that in her past life she had severed all 7 emotions and 6 desires. To her, romance only hindered the speed of her blade. And yet, she had not felt any repulsion toward that sensation just now. Perhaps it was the Icefire wine. Thinking of this, she drained the Icefire wine in a single gulp. When Shang Yu left, she gave you a mid-grade martial arts manual, the Origin Flow Sword Technique, to prepare you for the upcoming sect trial. It seems that she truly cares for you, her obedient disciple. By now, Ye Beihai's heart had returned to a state of calm. Before the sect trial begins, there is something she must do that no one can assist her with. She must journey to obtain a certain inheritance, simply because that inheritance was not left behind by any human. In the dead of night, what is there to invest in? Late at night, you are soaking your feet while reviewing today's investment returns, eager to see the results of your investment in your beautiful master. Congratulations to the host for successfully investing 1 portion of Icefire wine and 1 portion of roasted exotic beast meat, receiving a return of a jar of 100-flower condensation cream and a return of a night-shining pearl. The 100-flower condensation cream is a superior healing medicine harvested from 100 types of rare flowers and strange herbs. Every drop contains immense vitality and has miraculous effects in treating external wounds. The night-shining pearl, birthed from the Eastern Sea, glows eternally and is an essential item for the dwelling of any cultivation expert. The system quickly delivered a reward. Staring at the system interface, you could not help but exclaim, the iceberg is truly the most rewarding. For the sake of these rewards, I must hold firmly onto the jade-like legs of this iceberg. Congratulations to the host for successfully investing 1 portion of Icefire wine and 1 portion of roasted exotic beast meat, receiving a return of 20 years of martial Tao enlightenment. Receive the investment return, 1 profound crystal. At this very moment, the system notification rang out once more. The host has 1 pending investment return. Do you wish to claim it? You immediately realized this was the reward for saving Murong Xiao earlier that day, and with a mere thought, you claimed it. Congratulations to the host for investing 1 bottle of heart-cleansing pills. You successfully saved Murong Xiao, preventing him from falling into a demonic state. Receive the investment return, one heavenly script seal of the profound stone. Upon reviewing the description, you fell into deep contemplation. Currently, the highest grade technique you cultivate is the Extreme Soldier 6 Forms, which is classified as a peerless technique. Meanwhile, the Fire Heart Lotus Birth technique is merely an upper grade martial art. Above peerless techniques lie the divine arts. If you can obtain a silver or golden heavenly script seal in the future, you might be able to upgrade the martial arts you have already mastered. Upgrading existing techniques is, in any case, far more convenient than switching to entirely different cultivation manuals. Regardless, you decided to wait until such items were in your possession before worrying further. With your mind settled, you retrieved the Flowing Origin Sword technique that your master had just bestowed upon you, as you currently possess no other martial arts capable of being upgraded beyond this mid-grade sword manual. Gently pressing the heavenly script seal against the pages, the tadpole-like characters instantly flickered with light swirling and shifting across the scrolls. Some characters were guided by the smaller tadpoles into a new sequence, while others were consumed to reorganize into entirely new scripts. You watched in absolute awe at the miraculous sight. Roughly 5 minutes later, the tadpole characters lost their luminescence, vanishing without a trace, while the sword technique recorded in the manual had transformed into the Fire Crane Heavenly Dance Sword. For now, I have gained an additional 20 years of martial insight. Even if I were to pour it all into those two cultivation techniques, it is not certain I could achieve a breakthrough from the great completion stage to perfection. Therefore, I shall study the sword technique first. After all, who does not wish to be a sword-wielding hero? Is there anything more dashing and free-spirited than riding the wind and moon? Whether it is powerful or not is a matter for later, but being handsome is a lifelong pursuit. Fueled by anticipation, you poured all your martial insight into the Fire Crane Heavenly Dance. Could it be that 20 years of effort only yielded minor completion because sword techniques are harder to master than mental cultivation or physical tempering? Or do I truly lack talent for the blade? Shaking off these distracting thoughts, you sat upon the ground and began practicing your mental cultivation. Before long, you slipped into the state of unity of heaven and man, as the most pristine origin energy between heaven and earth poured into your body like a torrential river. 3 hours later, the Yangwei meridian within your body was cleared. Yet you complained that it was too slow. If others were to learn of this, they would likely think they had encountered a ghost. But immediately afterward, you were shocked by the state of your own meridians. For you have discovered that you possess 36 primary meridians. For a martial practitioner, the primary meridians are akin to an engine. This means that in the future, you will be able to harness triple the blood ki compared to an ordinary martial artist at the same realm. That combat power is truly explosive. Surpassing ranks will be as easy as flipping one's palm. Suddenly, you think of your young wife, Ye Beihai, whose assessment clearly states that she is fated for a life of misfortune. If nothing unexpected happens, some disaster will surely befall her sooner or later. If she encounters trouble living under the same roof as her, I fear I will inevitably be drawn into the fray. Reflecting on this, a sense of urgency rises within your heart. After relieving yourself and drinking a glass of water, you return to your cultivation. While cultivating, you discover a strange phenomenon. It seems that as long as you are training, you feel no fatigue whatsoever. Were it not for the limitation on the speed of conversion between origin energy and blood ki, you would truly wish to train for all 12 hours of the day. On the other side, Ye Beihai is also practicing her techniques. Having already opened 2 meridians, she also feels that this speed is not fast enough. Her exertion causes the entire room to feel as if it has suddenly plunged into an icy cavern. While training, she suddenly thinks of you, and her heart, which was once frozen solid, ripples with a faint disturbance. She does not loathe this feeling, yet she despises being affected by it. What displeases her even more is that she does not understand from whence this sentiment arises. Could it be because I still owe him a debt of gratitude? Very well, when I head to the inheritance site, I shall bring you along. Having been a diligent student in your past life was enough, yet unexpectedly, even in this mystical world, you must still work this hard. Just as you contemplate changing your name to Lin Diligent, you discover that your young wife is working even harder. You immediately sigh with emotion. That iceberg is still training. She is truly so industrious. No wonder she is destined to be a child of heaven. Thinking of this, you prepare a small bun for your wife. After all, this is merely an investment. Furthermore, you understand that a truly successful investor must grasp the principle that even a mosquito is still meat. At this moment, Ye Beihai is still in the midst of her cultivation, so you do not disturb her. You intend to head to the Shenfeng cave to further refine your physical body. You haven't gone far before you encounter Old Xiao. It turns out that thanks to the profound grade manual you provided, Old Xiao has returned to the 10th stage of the Blood Key realm. He has also successfully activated the aged master residing within his 7-star pendant. Old Xiao has come this time to repay your favor. Naturally, when someone offers a gift, this case contains a single feather. This feather was left behind by a divine beast with a powerful bloodline. It not only repels evil influences but also nurtures the physical body. While your current defenses are exceptionally high, they may not withstand magical damage. This item perfectly compensates for that weakness. For one investment, you receive a double return. You feel as though you have gained a massive advantage. As Elder Xiao had just walked past the window of Ye Beihai's room, a gust of cold air suddenly blew it open. You called out in that direction. The small steamed buns in the kitchen are still warm. I am heading to the Shenfeng cave first. Elsewhere, as Elder Xiao hummed a tune, The voice of the Tianxing Martial Venerable suddenly echoed in his mind. This child's talent is truly monstrous, the likes of which have not been seen in 10,000 years. Hearing this, Elder Shao halted his steps. Master, are you speaking of junior brother Lin? I am speaking of that girl in the room, of course. In the future, that child will likely claim a legendary position across the 9 heavens and 10 earths. I never expected junior sister Yi to be so formidable. She and junior brother Lin are childhood sweethearts, after all. As the saying goes, when one person attains the Tao, even their chickens and dogs ascend to heaven. From now on, cultivate a closer relationship with your junior brother Lin. Even without your instruction, Master, I would have done so, because junior brother Lin and I get along very well. He is my very first friend. Your disposition is quite noble. I hope you maintain this original intent. At the same time, you have arrived at the 3rd level of the Shenfeng Cave and immediately sit cross-legged to circulate the extreme body refinement technique. 3 hours later, a creature with a half-human, half-beast form suddenly stares at you from the cave entrance. This individual is the son of the true beast peak master from Yinhua City, and also a direct disciple. He could never have imagined that hundreds of different famous weapons would be hovering around you. His eyes immediately turned bloodshot, his slit pupils dilating in shock. Sensing a wave of killing intent surging towards you, you instantly open your eyes and turn to look back. One glance is enough to startle you. What in the world is this? What kind of thing is this? Surely this is not a human, is it? And no one mentioned that there were monsters in the Shenfeng Cave. Regardless, my physical body is now on par with sharp weapons. Perhaps it is time to attempt the 4th level. Seeing you brush the dust off your robes and walk into the 4th level without even glancing back, the fragile Dao heart of Yin Huacheng seemed to shatter. He had painstakingly labored to acquire a single Noming weapon, yet you did not even spare it a single look. For the sake of tempering his body, he had conducted thousands of trials, even going so far as to risk turning into a monster. Yet to this day, he dares not even approach the 4th level of the Divine Wind Cavern. You had only just entered the sect, yet your starting point was already the destination he could never hope to reach. As the son of a peak master born with a silver spoon in his mouth, Yin Huacheng's composure collapsed in an instant. Why? Why was I not chosen? By what right does he possess this? While this Yin clan inner disciple was descending into madness, you had already set foot upon the floor of the 4th level. A sharp, piercing, killing intent assaulted your face. Although your body tempering had achieved some success, you still felt an immense and crushing pressure. Your physical body, already comparable to the peak of mortal weapons, felt a slight stinging pain. You took a deep breath and instantly your internal organs and viscera felt a faint numbness. Fortunately, you had previously tempered both your internal organs and meridians. Otherwise, it is unlikely you would be able to endure this current environment. You raised your eyes only to see that the 4th level was vast. One half consisted of crystallized frost, while the other was so scorching that the air itself warped. The sight was truly absurd, and the number of remnant weapons here had decreased significantly. Ahead stood 9 stone pedestals, each embedded with a single weapon. Resting upon the first pedestal was a longsword, its entire body glowing with a translucent fiery red. As you approached, you saw an inscription carved before the pedestal, created by the 1st-generation Peak Master of Divine Weapon Peak. Chu Zizong observed the brilliance of the sun and moon, gaining enlightenment. He modeled it after the 5th-ranked void sword of the 9 provinces' divine weapon rankings. He forged it into a profound weapon and named it Chixiao. You had not expected this to be a profound weapon. Weapons are categorized into mortal, sharp, keen, and famed tiers. Above famed weapons are the Tier 5 profound weapons. As for what lies beyond profound weapons, you have never heard mention, but according to the characters left on the stone pedestal, since this profound weapon is merely a replica, the original void sword must surely be even more formidable. Beneath these, there was more writing, so you continued to read. The 4th-generation Peak Master of Kunyu Peak, Qin Xiaomeng, claimed the sword today. The 6th-generation Peak Master of Kunyu Peak, Luo Rulong, Yu Hong, the 13th-generation Master of Lua Peak of the Qingyun sect. Having mastered the Liang sword technique to the realm of perfection, he has come to claim the Chixiao sword. As time passed, the intervals between the Peak Masters coming to claim their swords grew longer. You cannot help but fall into deep contemplation. It seems that only those of the Qingyun sect have the qualifications to become its master. These profound Qingxuan weapons are becoming increasingly rare. Moreover, it seems this sword had been lost for a period of time. It was not until you reached the end that you discovered your beautiful Shizun's name inscribed upon the roster. The 33rd generation master of Kunyu Peak, Kang Yu, who slew an assassin of the heaven rank from the Jiyu Pavilion. Having recovered the Chixiao sword and swept your gaze across the 9 stone altars, you have gained a general understanding. These are all profound weapons forged by the masters of the Divine Weapon Peak throughout the generations. One only needs to earn the recognition of a profound weapon to become its master. Once the energy required to govern the profound weapon is exhausted, it must be returned. However, you remain ignorant of the method required to become a weapon master. It would be a lie to say you are not tempted. You have dreamed of possessing a handsome longsword. On this first stone altar there are a total of 2 swords. One is this Chixiao, while the other stone altars have 3 empty slots. It is unclear whether they have been claimed or were lost to time. Suddenly, the sound of a sword hum echoed, as if it sensed you approaching. The Chixiao sword embedded in the stone altar began to vibrate incessantly. In the next instant, your vision blurred. Not far away, a swordsman carrying a blade appeared, standing tall and imposing. The swordsman's face was indiscernible, yet he radiated a sharp, piercing aura. He did not speak, yet you seemed to understand his intent. A contest of swordsmanship with me? My upper-tier sword technique has reached the minor mastery stage. How could I fear you? 10 minutes later you gasped and suddenly opened your eyes, clutching your chest. In that moment of panic, the swordsman had pierced your chest with a single strike. Although you were not truly wounded, the illusion of searing pain remained. Your sword technique, despite being at the minor mastery stage, could not even withstand 5 strikes from his blade. The Chixiao sword stopped its humming, falling back into silence. It appears that one must cultivate a top-tier martial technique to the realm of perfection before they can become a weapon master. Although you possess 76 years of martial insight, it is currently insufficient to push the fire crane heaven dance to the realm of perfection. Suddenly, your gaze sharpened, fixed beyond that cliff face. Something seems to be summoning me. Yet before me, the path has clearly come to an end. Does this mean I must shatter this cliff? On the other side, Yin Huaqing struggled as he emerged from the cave entrance. After clarifying your background from the words of Fudo, Wu Duan became convinced that you must be carrying a rare treasure. Instantly, the anger within his heart dissipated, replaced by a burning, intense greed. You remain completely unaware that you have become a target. At this moment, deep within the 4th level, you do not rush to break the cliff, but instead continue to utilize the sharp, lethal winds to temper your physical body. As your physique gradually approaches the strength of a sharp weapon, the aura radiating from you suddenly becomes even more frigid. The protective light surrounding you grows increasingly dense, finally reaching a critical threshold. You snap your eyes open and exhale gently. The cliff opposite you is actually shattered, leaving behind a massive hole. Truly impressive, a single breath as sharp as a projectile. If this were to strike someone in the early stages of the blood energy realm, it would surely inflict a heavy wound, if not kill them outright. You then pick up a blue stone and apply slight pressure. The rock turns into fine powder, slipping through your fingers. Haha, a physical body that rivals a sharp weapon. I fear that even an 8th-grade exotic beast would find it extremely difficult to pierce my defenses. Furthermore, my skin seems to have become fairer as well. You have also become more handsome. Stabilizing your mind, you enter the opening and discover that there is indeed a secret passage within. After exiting the passage, 2 pools appear before your eyes. One pool resembling molten lava, the other as frigid as bone-chilling ice. At the intersection of these 2 pools stands a pitch-black hammer. At this very moment, the black hammer trembles, and you feel as though the entire divine weapon peak is shaking along with it. Simultaneously, a vision flashes through your mind. You see a bearded man gripping a weapon, the black hammer striking a sword blank, sending sparks flying in all directions. Could it be that all these mystical weapons were forged by this very hammer? No sooner has the thought arisen than the image before you changes. The bearded man swings the hammer into the head of a flood dragon. Its skull shatters instantly, leaving only its horns behind. Afterwards, the hammer falls into the hands of various other powerhouses, striking down experts from every direction. Not knowing how much time had passed, you finally awaken. Only then did he realize that what he had just witnessed was no hallucination. The entire divine armament peak was truly trembling. Just as he rushed outside, a voice echoed directly within his consciousness. I have been waiting for you. Who could have said that just now? Could it be that hammer? He never dreamed that the object drawn to him would be a hammer. As he struggled to escape the divine armament cave, Murong Shaoxi approached him. Brother Lin, what has happened to you? I was merely cultivating and accidentally tore my clothes. Though he answered calmly, his heart remained restless and uneasy. After all, the commotion today was undoubtedly caused by him. Seeing 9 divine figures standing before the entrance of the divine armament cave, he realized the gravity of the situation. Even the masters had been stirred. It seemed the origin of that hammer was far from ordinary. Brother, why don't you follow me and change into a new set of robes? After the 2 of them departed, the 9 elders arrived at the ice and fire pond. Seeing this, Shang Yu chuckled. Hanhe, it seems this ancient hammer has found its master. Upon discovering this truth, everyone could not help but gasp, for they knew this was a divine armament. Yet, they could not comprehend why the divine armament, having found a master, would remain behind. At this moment, Yin Huaxuan, the master of beast-taming peak, remarked, could it be that its master simply could not lift it? Hearing this, Hanhe waved his hand dismissively. Impossible, absolutely impossible. How could a divine armament acknowledge a master who is unable to wield it? Shang Yi spoke a few words, and the elders of the various peaks departed from the divine armament cave one by one. Only Hanhe remained, staring at the hammer with a lost expression. Are you truly unwilling to be nothing more than a blacksmith hammer? By evening, he and Ye Beihai were sitting down for dinner. There were only 3 simple dishes on the table, though he had not cooked them. He had brought them back from the communal dining hall. Ye Beihai only ate half a bowl before setting down her chopsticks, for the meal felt tasteless to her. In truth, she had never been particular about food, but ever since she had tasted his hot pot and grilled meat, everything had changed. Much like the famous saying, I could have endured the darkness had I never seen the light. Clearly, this principle applied just as well to the culinary arts. Looking at the mundane meal now, Ye Beihai felt a sense of emptiness in her heart. She glanced across the table to see him mechanically shoveling rice into his mouth, his expression one of deep existential doubt. At that moment, his state of mind was truly complicated beyond measure. It was then that old Mo had secretly told him, the disturbance in the divine armament cave was likely caused by the divine armament, the star-forged soul hammer. Yet he had never practiced the art of the warhammer. Why did that divine heavy hammer favor him so exclusively? Could it be that I am fundamentally unsuited for the sword and destined instead to master the hammer? At this thought, an image suddenly flashed through his mind. An image where he held a great hammer, a wicked smirk upon his face, shattering all his powerful enemies into oblivion. Suddenly, he slammed his chopsticks down with a clatter, banishing the vision from his mind. He no longer had the appetite to eat. Refusing to believe in such heresy, he took up his longsword and stepped into the courtyard to practice his swordsmanship. To master a superior grade sword technique to the minor completion stage at this age, any elder who witnessed it could not help but offer words of praise. Even a genius of the sword like Ye Beihai felt he was somewhat worthy of her attention, though compared to the true path of the sword, there remained a vast distance for this genius to bridge. Even without the experience and insight from her previous life, she would only need half a stick of incense's time to master a superior grade sword technique to the minor completion stage. Yet, in the way of the sword, there existed monsters even more terrifying than her, those born with the legendary sword heart and sword bone. They could witness any sword technique once and immediately derive new insights from it. At 10 years old, they create peerless grade sword techniques. By 20, they reach the realm of perfection in god-grade sword arts. Such individuals truly exist, and one such defeated foe had left a deep impression on Yi Beihai. Furthermore, the little princess of the Great Yu, a natural-born sword embryo, was born for the sword. In terms of pure sword talent, she is unrivaled in this era, making her even more formidable. After practicing for a while, he was forced to admit the truth. What he was doing could not be called practicing the sword, but rather merely waving the sword. Because after a full set, he had made no progress whatsoever. He did not even know in which direction he should exert his efforts. One does not fear a lack of hard work. One fears being unable to find the direction in which to work. Could it be that I truly lack the makings of a swordsman? Suddenly, the voice of Ye Beihai reached his ears. Your sword technique places importance on the concept of restraining the strike until the final moment. Before he could react, his sword was already in her hand. The longer you accumulate the energy, the more devastating the final outburst of power will be. Therefore, your sword strikes should be as precise as embroidery, mastering every fraction of your own force. The better your control, the more overwhelming the accumulated power will become. Watching her demonstrate while she instructed him, he was instantly mesmerized, and soon after, he felt a wave of bewilderment. That ice-cold woman had clearly never practiced the Fire Crane Heaven dance. Could what she said truly be correct? Collecting his focus, he poured 20 years of martial arts comprehension into the Fire Crane Heaven dance sword technique and the vast experience of the swords. In but a mere moment, the sword technique had reached great completion, yet within his heart there was not a shred of joy to be found. The pointers given by that icy woman were undeniably precise, yet she had never practiced this particular sword manual herself. She had only watched him practice it once, and already she was able to offer guidance. Is the Empress truly this terrifying? At this moment, Ye Beihai sheathed his sword, turned around, and softly asked, "Have you learned it?" "I have learned it, now perform it once more." With a complex state of mind, he took the sword and began to practice. Watching his somewhat stiff movements, she revealed a hint of satisfaction. Acceptable. Since you are teachable, you are not entirely hopeless. You may be considered suitable material for swordsmanship. Once he finished practicing, he turned and asked, "Did I perform it correctly?" Only to find the space behind him empty. The second-story window had already been shut. It seemed she had returned to her cultivation. He wondered how many meridians she had opened by now. He would attempt to open his 9th meridian tonight. However, deep in the night, Ye Beihai successfully condensed his 9th meridian, several times faster than in his previous life. Now aided by his mysterious system, he believed with certainty that in this lifetime he would become the strongest under the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Time flowed on as the sun rose and the moon set, and by early morning he was already busy in the kitchen. He prepared a slightly more lavish breakfast today, considering it a reward for that icy woman, for she had after all provided him with guidance yesterday. In truth, what gladdened him even more was that he had successfully opened his 9th meridian last night. After a simple meal, he set off for the mountain gate as usual, prepared to harvest a new wave of martial insights. 10 minutes later, he had a large accumulation of investment returns waiting to be claimed. These martial insights totaled 115 years, along with various other miscellaneous items. 3 days later, he successfully opened his 10th meridian and received letters and packages sent from his family, especially upon reading the final sentence in his father's letter. "Those close to the water see the moon first, take the opportunity and seize it." It was clear his father was growing anxious, hoping to be holding a healthy grandson by next year. He could not help but touch his forehead and sigh. Who could possibly understand his plight? In his past life, he was pressured to marry at 26. In this life, at 16, he still could not escape the pressure to marry. Yet in this world of fantasy, it was quite common for a 16-year-old man to take a wife. Immediately afterward, he felt a slight headache, for it was truly difficult to imagine the iceberg-like woman in the role of a virtuous and devoted wife. Not to mention anything else, the mere thought of the two of you sharing a blanket at night. You took a moment to compose yourself before walking up to her door. "My mother sewed these new clothes for you. I'll leave them at the door." After placing the garments down, you went to prepare breakfast. Not long after, Ye Beihai walked into the living room wearing the new attire. Upon seeing her, you nearly drooled, because those jade-like legs were adorned in black stockings. You quickly regained your composure, realizing it must be a fabric known as cloud silk, light, durable, and resistant to both heat and cold. Naturally, the price is not trivial. This type of protective gear is far more expensive than weaponry. The person who invented this is a true genius, possessing a craft reminiscent of the geniuses from your previous life. After finishing breakfast, Ye Beihai spoke with sudden coldness. I will wait for you at Wangyu Cliff for 1 hour. Do your best to arrive on time. You were unsure why she suddenly uttered these words, but she clearly had no intention of explaining them to you. Curiously, you activated your Heavenly Fate Divine Eye, and, upon seeing the recent revelations displayed on her status board, you finally understood. Well, isn't that something? Am I being treated as a burden? Nate Beihai, Taiyan Moon Emperor Body, Realm Blood Circulation Stage 10 Meridians, Fate Red, bearing the mysterious Ice Emperor Bone, Appearance Autumn Water Divine Visage, destined to become an Empress, Fate Assessment, many tribulations yet always turns misfortune into prosperity, current status, wings not yet fully grown, when the winds of change shift, she shall surely rule over the 9 heavens, 10 earths and the vast desolation. Recent encounter, participating in the sect trial, intention, to journey to the 9-colored primal emperor's inheritance ground to claim the primal essence, one of the 9 souls of the emperor, the river soul, to repay a favor, preparing to bring along a burden to accompany her. Wangyu Cliff lies deep within the trial grounds, requiring one to pass through the territory of 9th rank peak-level exotic beasts just to reach it. Without genuine skill, it is impossible to set foot there. Just as you stepped down from her private carriage with Ye Beihai, you heard several disciples participating in the trial whispering amongst themselves. Is that the Sectmaster's true disciple, Ye Beihai? This junior sister is truly beautiful. Keep your voice down. I heard she has already reached the 8th meridian of the blood circulation stage. What a monstrous talent. Who is that person beside her? That is Lin, the true disciple who entered the sect at the same time as her. Moreover, he is known as a kind soul, a man of great virtue. Hearing this, your mouth twitched slightly. Thank you very much. I do not perform good deeds for the sake of fame, nor do I require anyone to bestow upon me the title of a virtuous man. At this very moment, you notice Wang Hu in the crowd, staring at you with a malevolent glare. Although he maintains his usual arrogant expression, there is a subtle hint of illness visible between his brows. You are unsure what madness has gripped this fellow, so with a flicker of thought, you activate your Heavenly Fate Eye to scan him. After a quick glance, you grasp the situation in its entirety. It turns out that among the sect disciples you invested in previously, you discover that quite a few have been implanted with demonic seeds by the demon summoning sect. The only difference is that those disciples were targeted by the demonic sect only after leaving the sect. However, Wang Hu has yet to step outside the mountain gates. How could he have come into contact with the demonic sect? Name, Wang Hu, age, constitution, tiger-armed leopard demon. Realm, 8th meridian of the Blood Chi realm, heavenly fate, black. Assessment possesses some talent. If he practices with diligence and hardship, he may achieve some measure of success in the future. However, he is narrow-minded, vindictive, arrogant, and aggressive, making him prone to walking an extreme path. Recent encounter, the demonic seed has taken deep root and he has strayed too far from the righteous path. His own essence blood is no longer sufficient to sustain him, so he is preparing to devour the blood of exotic beasts, gradually losing his grip on his reason. It seems this sect trial is destined to be anything but ordinary. Your wife is truly formidable. As soon as the sect trial began, she slaughtered exotic beasts as easily as drinking water, essentially 1 strike per kill. The elders watching from outside could not help but be repeatedly astonished, yet you have not made a single move. King let out a yawn and muttered, "Why hasn't my good disciple made a move yet?" No sooner had she finished speaking than a resounding blast echoed through the air. Lin Qingfeng had slain a 9th grade 9th rank python exotic beast. But looking at the light screen, the state of the snake's carcass was gruesome, appearing as if a tin can had been crushed under someone's boot, standing in complete contrast to the style of Ye Beihai. Seeing this, the portly elder Qian Bufan rubbed his round belly and fell into deep contemplation. Kang Yu, my junior apprentice, isn't that disciple of yours supposed to be practicing swordsmanship? This boy has already reached the great completion stage of the 6 harmonies technique. Upon hearing this, the elders open their mouths, unsure of whether to offer praise, as your combat style is uncannily similar to that of Kang Yu. The Qingyun sect already has one Kang Yu to give everyone a headache, if a second were. And so, the elders began their performative charade once again. Elder, why did you not take that Lin boy under your wing back then? My quota for direct disciples was already full. Elder Qian, you still had room. Why did you not take him? I certainly wanted to at the time, but was it not senior nephew Shang Yu who acted faster? Is it still possible to guide him away from this misguided path? The elders sighed heavily, one after another in collective lament. Suddenly, Shang Yu let out a cold, sharp reprimand. If you wish to poach my precious disciple, that is fine. But who among you can defeat me? To the victor shall go my beloved disciple. As these words left her lips, the elders immediately fell silent, terrified of provoking this madwoman's fury. Meanwhile, deep within the mountain forest, you encountered a massive tortoise. This creature, known as a boulder-back turtle, possessed strength at the late stage of the 9th rank, and you immediately drew your steel sword to unleash the fire crane technique. However, not only did the tortoise shell remain uncracked, your sword nearly snapped in 2 under the impact. The boulder turtle cast a triumphant, provocative gaze toward you. Being a transmigrator, to be held in such contempt by a mere turtle was intolerable. You sheathed your blade and instantly pushed the internal blood energy of your 10 meridians to its absolute limit. In the next heartbeat, you threw a punch, a thunderous boom erupted, and the shell of this ancient tortoise was finally shattered. The creature's 4 limbs sprawled outward as its life was successfully extinguished. Yet your heart was filled with profound indignation. I set out to be a master swordsman, not a pugilist. Witnessing this scene, the expressions of the elders became increasingly vivid and varied. Compared to the situation of Ye Beihai, who had dealt with every exotic beast thus far with a single precise lethal strike, as if she knew exactly where their weakest points lay, the elders truly did not know how to evaluate your performance. A man who claims to practice the sword, yet relies entirely on his fists in real combat. Several hours later, both you and Ye Beihai had nearly trampled through the competition, leaving everyone else far behind. Ye Beihai currently held a slight lead over you, while in third place was Wang Hu, the man who had always regarded you as his mortal enemy. However, Wang Hu had transformed into a rampaging beast in his pursuit of points. He was now intent on slaughtering his fellow disciple Lin Zhang. The fierce sounds of their combat quickly drew your attention. When you arrived at the scene, your eyes widened. What kind of strange beast was Lin Zhang fighting? No, this was not a beast. You realized something was amiss. You immediately activated your Heavenly Fate Divine Eyes to scan Lin Zhang. Age 16, Root Bone, Mantis Python Cultivation Realm, Blood Chi Realm, 6th Meridian. Heavenly Fate, Cyan Black. Your assessment: this youth possesses decent talent, but he is overly impetuous. A blade too rigid will easily snap. If he can awaken in time, he may yet travel far. His recent encounter. After a brutal battle and without time to regulate his breath, he ran into Wang Hu, who had been consumed by a beast seed. Though his spirit was not yet extinguished, he would be unable to recover if he sustained further heavy injuries. Looking at the information displayed by the system, you couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. It was indeed Wang Hu who had consumed a beast seed, twisting himself into this monstrous ghoulish form. Wang Hu was clearly resorting to ruthless methods, but your Heavenly Fate Divine Eyes indicated that Lin Zhang would not die. Could the elders be involved? A realization dawned upon you. You surmised that the elders had likely been secretly monitoring Wang Hu's movements all along, though it remained unclear why they had not yet intervened. Nevertheless, you could not simply stand by. To watch a direct disciple perish in vain would be a loss. You decided to intervene, especially since saving him would secure another blue-tier investment. Seeing you charge in, Lin Zhang prepared to warn you of the danger. To his astonishment, with a single strike, you forced Wang Hu back to his original form, leaving him lying prone on the ground, unconscious. This sight left Lin Zhang's jaw hanging open, wide enough to swallow 2 eggs. Wang Hu was equivalent to a 9th-rank peak-level strange beast, yet he had been subdued in an instant and with only a single blow. In truth, he felt that you had not even used your full strength. Otherwise, it would not have been a mere knockout, but the direct execution of Wang Hu. Everyone had clearly joined the Qingyun sect at the same time. Why were you so powerful that it induced a sense of despair in others? In reality, Lin Zhang had joined the sect with martial foundations. Before entering the Qingyun sect, he had trained in a martial arts hall for a long time. At the time you entered the sect, you had not even opened your meridians. You were entirely a commoner, unable to even trust a chicken. Back then, he could have effortlessly defeated 100 people like you, yet in so short a time you had already left him behind by 9 layers of clouds. Just as Lin Zhang was questioning his very existence, a wooden box was presented before him. It contained the 100-flower dew ointment, a miracle medicine renowned for treating external injuries. Lin Zhang regained his senses and looked up to see your radiant smile. Without hesitation, he accepted it and began to apply the ointment to his wounds in silence. At that very moment, the system notification resonated in your mind. Investment successful. Half a bottle of 100-flower dew ointment. Reward received. 1 manual for the iron palm technique. Do you wish to claim it? Do not claim. After answering the system internally, you waved your hand at Lin Zhang. Very well, wait for the deacon here. I am in a hurry and must depart. Having said that, you strode off, continuing your journey toward Wangyu Cliff. Many thanks for saving my life, Brother Lin. As Lin Zhang watched your departing figure, he couldn't help but feel a surge of reverence and admiration in his heart. When you finally arrived at the trial grounds to meet the elders, the truth behind the events became clear. It turned out that the elders had not acted sooner because they were trying to lure out the powerful figure supporting Wang Hu. Yet, the simple and unadorned punch you delivered earlier had once again shattered the preconceived notions of these old men. Although both you and Ye Beihai stood at the peak of the Ascension Stone steps, the elders still believed Ye Beihai's innate talent far surpassed yours. After all, the terrifying progress Ye Beihai had displayed had already left them completely stunned. Nevertheless, they never expected that you would actually possess the strength to stand as her equal. Especially after Wang Hu was brought back, they discovered his entire arm had been twisted and shattered, and it did not look like the result of a skirmish at all. It was not a closely contested battle between rivals, but rather seemed as if he had been effortlessly crushed by a far more powerful beast. Setting everything else aside, this ferocious combat prowess alone was enough to stand on par with Ye Beihai. The elders could not help but wonder whether they had misjudged the situation on the Ascension Stone steps earlier. However, your beautiful master only smiled, her almond-shaped eyes curving like crescent moons. He recalled the wager between the two of them, and his aged face instantly darkened like the bottom of a charred pot. Although his disciple Murong Xiao was also quite outstanding, the gap between him and you was truly as vast as heaven and earth. At this moment, the stout elder Chan Bufan could not help but exclaim that with these two, the Qingyun sect would surely flourish. Hearing this, the other elders nodded in agreement. During the first recruitment of the Qingyun sect, the founding masters had, at that time, even though their territory was merely a prefecture under the Xiang Manor, they actually held an uncontested dominance over the entire Eastern Desolation region. Unexpectedly, a generation has emerged that possesses the extraordinary talent reminiscent of the founding masters, and furthermore, two such individuals have appeared at once. Once you enter the North Sea to mature, the Qingyun sect will likely see the sun and moon sharing the same sky. Reflecting on this, Shi Jing chuckled and spoke up. Since Qingfeng rescued his fellow disciples and subdued Wang Hu, we shall credit him with the elimination of a peak stage 9th grade demonic beast. Does anyone among you have any objections? To everyone's surprise, no one opposed the decision. In fact, they agreed it was only reasonable to award him those additional points. And so the scoreboard shifted. Ye Bai Hei's while Lin Qingfeng reached 116. It turned out that not long before, Ye Beihai had also slain a peak stage 9th grade exotic beast. Therefore, there remains a slender margin of 3 points between the two of you. The road ahead is long, so take your time and plan accordingly. For now, we still have someone lurking in the shadows watching us. Shi Jing spoke, drawing everyone's attention back to the matter at hand. After a brief discussion, the elders decided to temporarily confine the captive at Ruyi Peak for interrogation. Since Wang Hu's beast transformation is linked to the Huanmo sect, the final judgment must wait for the sect master to emerge from seclusion. Given that the enemy did not even seem to care about Wang Hu's death, it is unlikely that further incidents will occur during this trial. Suddenly, a deacon returned, dragging two late-stage 9th grade exotic beasts behind him. The elders took one look and knew immediately that this was undoubtedly your masterpiece. With this new feat added, your score surged to 146, instantly surpassing Beihai to claim the top position. Shang Yu stood with her arms crossed, chin tilted in triumph. My precious disciple is now in first place. Let's see who dares to claim this old woman doesn't know how to teach a disciple anymore. You intended to become a peerless master of the sword, yet irony dictates that you have veered off course into becoming a master of the dagger. Along the way, you no longer had the heart to hunt for exotic beasts. After all, no matter how generous the sect's rewards might be, they certainly cannot compare to the inheritance left by your icy wife. Just look at that 9-colored primal phoenix. Such a supreme fortuitous encounter. Had you not relied on her, you would likely never have had the chance to touch it in this lifetime. It is sweet. It is truly divine. While lost in thought, you ascended to Bwongyu Cliff. You scanned your surroundings, yet you could not detect anything resembling an inheritance. This Wangyu Cliff is no desolate or remote corner. It is said that young couples from the Beast Peak often come here to rendezvous, and there are no shortage of rumors and folklore about this place within the sect. If the inheritance were so easily discovered by others, how could it remain hidden? It seems the secret has already been laid bare. How could that ice-cold woman have discovered it? Could it be that, like my own spiritual resonance with the mace at Shenfeng Cave, she shares a similar connection? Perhaps the destiny of this place is calling to her as well. As you pondered this, you walked to the edge of the peak to observe. Must one truly leap from Wangyu Cliff into the Qingyuan abyss? Suddenly, a hallucination flickered before your eyes, as if a heaven-shaking sword intent had descended upon you. This sword intent felt like a divine punishment falling from the 9 heavens, capable of severing every obstacle in this world. In that moment, you felt as though your physical body was on the verge of shattering. Could it be that this Wangyu Cliff was carved out by a single strike from a sword? A terrifying realization took root in your heart. A strike unleashed countless years ago, yet its sword intent remains, lingering to this very day. Truly a sword light that chills the 19 provinces. What manner of peerless powerhouse could achieve this? In the future, the Ice Queen may well become such a powerhouse, or perhaps even greater. As you thought this, you recalled the appraisal of Yi Beihai from the heavenly fate divine eye, and could not help but sigh. Why is it that I am not meant to be a sword refining material? Next time I shall equip a better blade and attempt this again. Just as you finished speaking, Yi Beihai arrived at Wangyu Cliff. Seeing you standing by the precipice, your body stained with beast blood, she paused for a moment. According to her estimations, you should have still been at the Stone Creek Forest at this time. As the further one travels, the more one encounters peak 9th rank exotic beasts. Even with your Chi Blood realm cultivation at the 12th meridian, and your mastery of swordsmanship, it should have been impossible to overcome them so easily. Considering the journey is far from easy for those in the Chi Blood realm, she had even granted you an extra hour of time. Yet this fellow has arrived even earlier than she did. It is truly bizarre. Hearing the movement behind you, you turned your head and smiled. She had finally arrived. Go ahead and tend to your wounds. I will wait for you. I am not injured. This is merely the blood of exotic beasts. If you do not believe me, see for yourself. I encountered 2 minor exotic beasts blocking my path, and as I was in a hurry, I did not hold back. Having said this, you took a few steps toward her. Ye Beihai reached out and touched your chest lightly, thinking, it really is the blood of exotic beasts. Could it be that he encountered no trouble along the way? Is his fortune perhaps a bit too good? Looking at your handsome, radiant face, filled only with the joy of keeping your promise on time, without a trace of impatience, she found herself for a moment unable to read you. Being stared at by her in such a manner, you suddenly felt a flush of embarrassment. Furthermore, her fingers were still resting upon your chest. The cool sensation was, to be honest, incredibly comforting. Just then, a coarse voice cut through the air, shattering the atmosphere. My two esteemed inner disciples, have I perhaps arrived at an inopportune moment? You and Ye Beihai turned your heads almost simultaneously, only to find a figure clad in black, face obscured, standing behind you. Had he been there the entire time? I only intended to settle a score with Disciple Lin, but I never expected such an unexpected harvest. Even Disciple Yi is present. Upon mentioning Ye Beihai, the voice of the black-robed man trembled slightly, even carrying an uncontrollable sense of agitation, to the point where he might as well have had the word villain written across his face. Without a word of wasted breath, you fired a signal flare that tore through the sky, summoning reinforcements immediately. However, the black-robed man did not move. Instead, he regarded you with a mocking expression. Disciple Lin, you would be better served by using your head. If I had not made absolute preparations, do you truly think I would have appeared here? Ye Beihai, oh Ye Beihai, I truly cannot bear for you to be martyred as a pair of lovebirds with him. As long as you, before the black-robed man could finish his sentence, you gave the heart-link bell a light, expressionless shake. The black-robed man's complexion changed instantly, cold sweat breaking out across his back. He was well aware of who this bell would summon. Damned fool, enraged, the black-robed man prepared to strike you down. A flash of sword light descended. It was Ye Beihai who had cast the long sword from her hand. The black-robed man was confident he could parry such a strike, yet he had to admit that Ye Beihai's strength far exceeded his expectations. She could not be described by the term genius alone. Even a cultivator at his level, the Guanshen realm, would sustain injuries if he met that blade head-on. Ultimately, the black-robed man tilted his body to evade the strike. Taking advantage of the moment, Ye Beihai shouted toward you, "Jump down quickly!" Seeing you nod without a moment's hesitation, Ye Beihai felt that she could not fathom you any longer. This was a bottomless cliff after all. Why did you not possess even a shred of fear? Was it because you trusted her? Though questions swirled in her mind, she was not one to waver. Since you were willing to place your trust in her, she did not hesitate to take your hand and leap together from the mountain peak. Seeing this, the black-robed man rushed forward, watching the figures of the young man and woman vanish into the mist, his eyes filled with disbelief. Frustrated, who could have imagined that this person was the true lineage disciple of Yin Hung of Zhentu Peak? Yin Huacheng's mind went blank, his pupils contracting to the size of needlepoints. He had witnessed many unsightly expressions upon men before their deaths, yet he had never seen anyone plunge toward their own demise without a moment's hesitation. Even he did not know the true depth of this abyss, and furthermore, it remained saturated with a terrifyingly powerful pressure. Even a sect master with a cultivation base reaching the outer scenery realm would not dare to leap down without thorough preparation. For two lowly figures in the blood chi realm, there was only a path to certain death. Madman, you two are even more insane than I. Clearly, at this moment, he deeply regretted dodging that sword strike, for had he not dodged, he would have been wounded, and being wounded might have revealed his traces. Yet that would still be better than his current predicament, where everything has come to nothing. This meant that not only had he failed to obtain the premium medicinal materials required for his cultivation, but he had also committed the grave crime of conspiring against a true lineage disciple. Moreover, the master of that disciple, a beauty known for her volatile temperament, was fast approaching. Yin Huacheng suppressed the turbulent emotions surging within his heart, quickly stripped off his black robes to cast them into the abyss, and then donned the uniform of a true lineage disciple. Once completed, he prepared to send a transmission to the elders. However, before he could act, a figure overflowing with intense killing intent slammed onto the mountaintop with a resounding boom. What is it like to provoke a beautiful master who is pathologically protective of her students? Today Yin Huacheng, who intended to do harm, finally experienced it. One could only see Shang Yu, her face icy, staring fixedly at him. Where is my disciple? Yin Huacheng felt his throat turn parched and dry. The excuses he had meticulously prepared could not be uttered, not even a single word. He could only stammer, "Disciple, I have only just arrived." At this very moment, the other elders landed on the mountaintop one after another. Witnessing this scene, Yin Huaxuan immediately spoke in his defense. "Shang Yu, let us first clarify what has transpired before we continue." With his father backing him, Yin Huacheng regained his courage. Only then did he exhale, continuing his lie. "Wang Yu Cliff is a sector under my responsibility. Upon hearing the signal flare, I rushed here immediately. It is just that when I arrived, Wang Yu Cliff was already completely deserted." As he finished speaking, the expressions of everyone present turned incredibly grim, for there is only one path that leads to Wang Yu Cliff. At this moment, if they cannot find you or Ye Beihai, the only explanation is that both of you are at the bottom of the abyss. Just then, Xuejing approached Shang Yu, carrying a long sword in her hand. This sword belonged to Ye Beihai. She must have encountered a formidable foe and was forced to unleash a desperate strike. Neither of those two children is an ordinary practitioner of the blood chi realm. If they worked together, even if they could not defeat a master of the internal breath realm, they should have at least been able to hold out until our arrival. Could it be that the person who attacked them is at the spirit official realm? As soon as Qian Bufan spoke, the expressions of everyone present shifted drastically once more. Who would have expected that the Huanmo sect heretics supporting Wang Hu had the two true disciples as their true targets? Suddenly a sharp sound rang out. Shang Yu struck Yin Huacheng with her palm, sending him flying. Fortunately, Yin Huaxuan acted in time, managing to catch his foolish son. "Shang Yu, what is the meaning of this?" Every year, there are casualties during the trials. Are we to assume that whenever something happens, everyone is entitled to harass the deacons? It would be best if I never find out that you had any involvement in this matter. As these words left her lips, Yin Huacheng recoiled as if facing a deadly enemy, his complexion instantly turning as pale as paper. Yin Huaxuan, however, remained composed. Shang Yu, I sympathize with your current state of mind, but do not go around making baseless accusations. Enough, this is not the time for internal strife. Elder Qian is absolutely correct. The most pressing matter is to determine if Qingfeng and Beihai are alive or dead. If they are still breathing, we must devise a plan to rescue them. Hearing this, the elders fell into a heavy silence. They possessed absolutely no knowledge of the situation beneath the chasm. The sect records contained no information regarding this location. Just as everyone stood in silence, the heart-linked trinket on Shang Yu's wrist rang out twice. It is Qingfeng, he is still alive. Shang Yu, overcome with agitation, moved to jump down without a second thought. Fortunately, Xu Jing and Can Bufen managed to hold her back. Junior nephew Shang Yu, you must not be so reckless as to leap down there. Indeed, she is correct. Since they are alive, let us deliberate on a plan. We shall certainly find a way to bring them back up. The elders continued to dissuade Shang Yu, but the Yin Huashuan father and son duo not only remained silent, but a flicker of astonishment simultaneously crossed their faces. Yin Huacheng was about to speak, but was silenced by a sharp, sinister glare from his father. Return to the Beast Peak at once. Meanwhile, Yu and Beihai continue to plummet through the clouds, the oppressive pressure growing stronger with every passing moment. You have almost entirely lost the ability to perceive your surroundings. Only the coldness of the small hand resting within your own provides you with any sense of reality. You glance toward the owner of that small hand, and within her half-closed eyes remains that same pure cold and unmoving composure. It is unclear if he is certain of success or if he is simply devoid of the fear of death. At such a dizzying height, if she were not the daughter of destiny, she would surely meet a grim end, would she not? Yet even if she is the daughter of destiny, I fear she might still fall unconscious or suffer grievous injury. That nameless legacy site cannot be explored without her, therefore this iceberg of a woman must not be allowed to come to harm. Driven by an inexplicable impulse, you pull her close, gathering the jade-soft figure into your arms. The warm, steady rhythm of her heartbeat radiates from her delicate frame. Beihai knits her brows slightly but remains still, looking at you with confusion, subtly shifting her posture to face downward. Does he intend to act as a human cushion for me? Even though her heart is usually as tranquil as still water, she cannot help but feel a sense of absurdity at such a ridiculous situation. If we truly fall to the ground, what use would your mortal body be? Although she thinks this, she has never before shared such intimate contact with a man. In her past life, no man dared to approach within 3 meters of her. Beihai bites her lip, feeling a flicker of shyness, but ultimately decides not to push the young man away. It is unknown how much time has passed, but the intense sensation of weightlessness finally dissipates. You descend upon the ground, landing amidst a trail of 7-colored rays, which shields you both from any potential injury. These rays emanate from a nearby fissure in the stone gate, spilling outward. Thank you. You may let go now. Realizing you were holding her too tightly and that your faces were nearly pressed against each other, you release her in a moment of embarrassment. Where is this place? Was your intention in bringing me to Wangyu Cliff to lead me here? Yes, that is correct. Then how did you know of this location? I have visited it in my dreams. Having said this, she instinctively reaches for her waist, only to grasp at empty air. Use mine. As you hand her your ordinary steel sword, she notices it is nicked with small grain-sized chips. It seems his journey to Wangyu Cliff was not as effortless as he claimed. Suppressing these thoughts, Beihai nods slightly and advances with sword in hand. You walk close by her side, scanning the surroundings with vigilance. Since this is a place of legacy, there must certainly be trials awaiting. No sooner does the thought cross your mind than a bone-chilling wind surges through the area, causing a tremor to ripple deep within your soul, accompanied by a cacophony of whispers layered within the howling gale. Come down and join us. Why are you still clinging to life? This is a supreme opportunity. What are these things? You cast your gaze around, only to find black, roiling clouds with twisted, agonizing faces flickering within them from time to time. If this were the past, Beihai certainly wouldn't have bothered to explain, but today, she answers your doubts. When a martial artist cultivates to the Guanshen realm, they can observe the wonders of heaven and earth to temper their spirit. A master at the great completion of the Guanshen realm can project their soul to manipulate objects from afar. If a Guanshen realm martial artist perishes while possessing an unshakable obsession, their undying spirit will transform into a malevolent entity. These are the manifestations of the obsessions of Guanshen realm martial artists. Through her explanation, you immediately understood. It seems that many powerful experts have explored this place, yet all have failed, leaving behind only a lingering strand of obsession that remains here for eternity. These are the manifestations of the obsessions of Guanshen realm martial artists. Through her explanation, you immediately understood. It seems that many powerful experts have explored this place, yet all have failed, leaving behind only a lingering strand of obsession that remains here for eternity, guarding the 9-colored origin emperor inheritance that they could never attain. At this moment, a cold wind swept in, bringing malevolent entities rushing from all directions. Beihai, standing beside you, suddenly moved to strike. This is the first time you have witnessed her fight in earnest. You saw a flash of sword light explode, blooming into hundreds of sword blossoms. Each petal of sword chi struck a malevolent entity with absolute precision. This was unexpectedly the perfection realm of the sword blossom technique. However, this attack, which would have been enough to force a niche realm expert into retreat, failed to inflict any real damage upon the malevolent entities. It merely knocked them back into the roiling clouds. Before long, they swarmed back again. Clearly, these malevolent entities knew no fear. Before she could finish her sentence, she felt a surge of warm, fiery intent emanating from behind her. It turned out to be the fire sparrow feather hidden within the pouch on your chest, which had begun to react. This fire sparrow feather possesses the purest yang energy, the natural nemesis of these wicked, malevolent beings. You threw a light punch, and the malevolent entity before you was instantly reduced to smoke and mist. Seeing this, Beihai's tense posture relaxed slightly. Within that pouch lies a trace of Phoenix clan aura, likely left behind by a bird possessing the bloodline of a true phoenix. In that case, there is no need to be distracted by the task of protecting him any longer. However, after throwing a single punch, you remained standing perfectly still. This left Xiao Beihai feeling somewhat perplexed. In truth, the system had suddenly issued a notification. Congratulations to the host for a successful investment, helping Xiaorong dissipate her lingering obsession. To one's surprise, the investment reward was 1 year of martial insights. Who would have thought that slaying spirits also counted as an investment return? No wonder they say that delivering souls to the afterlife is considered an act of great merit. You regained your focus and looked toward the shadows surging within the mist, your eyes burning with newfound eagerness. After all, even the smallest mosquito has meat. The rewards must be claimed. Just as you prepared to throw another punch, you noticed the cold beauty eyeing you with a frown. About that, many of these spirits are predecessors from my sect. If it is no trouble, please let them rest in peace. Beihai pressed her lips together, a flicker of profound emotion flashing in her eyes. Ultimately, she did not urge you on, choosing instead to stand silently by your side and watch your performance. They say that when a man and a woman work together, the burden is halved, and with a beautiful wife at your side, lending her support, within the span of 2 incense sticks, the spirits had been completely purged. In return, you received a flurry of investment rewards, totaling roughly 86 years of martial arts insights, which, when added to your existing foundation, brought you to nearly 200 years of cultivation. You also obtained various miscellaneous items, including damaged weapons, elixirs with diverse effects, and gold and silver treasures, and even several land deeds. Although Beihai did not take much action, her mere presence provided a constant pressure on the surroundings. You sincerely cupped your hands toward her in a bow, thanking her for guarding the flanks. It is nothing. Beihai sheathed her sword, a strange and inexplicable feeling suddenly stirring in her heart. Sometimes she could not fathom why you would perform such thankless tasks, wasting your time so frivolously, yet the feeling lingering after it was done was not at all unpleasant. Shaking her head to cast aside these distracting thoughts, she walked toward the inheritance stone gate, which was covered in thick green moss. Her fair, delicate hand pressed against the stone, and with a strange vibration, the door slowly rumbled open. Inside, the space was flooded with an intense sunset-like radiance. At the source of this glow stood a small mystical tree that looked remarkably lifelike. Not far from the tree lay a small pool filled with a crimson liquid, emitting a strange fragrance that caused one's pores to expand in reaction. And here lay the inheritance of the 9-colored origin emperor. Seeing that everything remained unchanged from the moment she arrived in her previous life, Beihai finally heaved a sigh of relief. This was because the 9-colored origin phoenix was of utmost importance to her. It can be said that without the 9 souls of the 9-colored origin phoenix, the blood emperor scripture she relied upon would be as unstable as duckweed, perhaps even inferior to a common technique. The reason she was able to be reborn was that at the very last moment, she utilized the forbidden nirvana art from the theoretical stage of the blood emperor scripture. Now that she had obtained the lower soul much earlier, she could also grasp its full wonders without needing to fumble through trial and error. In this lifetime, she would soar higher, faster, and further. Regaining her composure, she spoke softly. That pool of water is infused with a trace of an auspicious beast's essence blood. If you enter and soak, the future benefits to you will be immeasurable. At the very least, your body-refining cultivation can reach a new height. Then I offer my thanks. You should quickly go and claim your inheritance. Though the iceberg did not explicitly state it, you knew well in your heart that this so-called essence blood of an auspicious beast was, in all likelihood, the essence blood of the 9-colored origin phoenix. Even without considering the system's return on investment, this trip was already a bountiful harvest. The system rewards that could compare to this spring pool were extremely rare. Although the iceberg always appeared distant toward others, it was clear that she was still thinking of you in her heart at this moment. Thinking of this, you joyfully leaped into the pool, and an incredibly powerful surge of vitality instantly flooded into your body. It was truly refreshing, extremely refreshing. Watching your expression of pure enjoyment as you bathed, she thought that repaying this favor would be difficult. She felt as though a weight had been lifted from her heart, yet for some reason she felt a sense of emptiness within. Forget it, the fact that you have reached this point today is already a massive change to your destiny. In the future, perhaps you will hold a place of prominence in the eastern desolate region. Suppressing her thoughts, she lowered her gaze toward that small tree. The sapling was clearly not as tall as a person, yet it faintly exuded a vast and majestic brilliance. With its branches barren and dry, it was impossible to tell if it was living or dead. You watched as she bit her fingertip and dripped blood onto the soil beneath the sapling. The very next moment, a miraculous scene unfolded. With the first drop, the withered trunk began to radiate with vitality. With the second drop, tender buds began to emerge upon the trunk. With the third drop, the buds transformed into branches and began to grow rapidly. With the fourth drop, the foliage began to flourish. At the very apex of the canopy, a tiny flower bud sprouted. By the time the ninth drop of blood fell, a cry that seemed to tear through the very fabric of space echoed outward. Standing upon that flower bud was a tiny phoenix no larger than the palm of one's hand, the hippo. She immediately extended her hand, hoping for it to hop onto her palm. However, the phoenix flapped its wings and swiftly flew away. Her gaze trailed the bird only to discover that it had perched upon your shoulder, dancing about with an air of profound intimacy. What? Did the nine-colored origin phoenix hippo, which I nurtured with my own vital essence, truly choose this person instead? Bihai found it difficult to accept for a moment. She even suspected this might be an illusion. Her ability to successfully awaken the hippo with her Taiyan moon phoenix proved that her constitution and the nine-colored origin possessed a deep, inherent connection, and logically, she should have been the chosen successor. This was a fact she had been certain of from her past life to the present. But why was he chosen instead? Could it be because the manual in his possession contains the aura of a true phoenix? You were soaking in the hot spring, and upon opening your eyes, you saw a dainty little bird hopping about on your chest. Just as you were about to ask Beihai what was happening, you noticed that her expression was complex to the extreme. Your heart skipped a beat. Could this be her inheritance? The atmosphere instantly grew still, with only the sound of your breathing audible to one another. The scene became incredibly awkward. Suddenly, you stood up from the pool and cautiously asked, "About that, I assume you aren't thinking of killing me to seize this treasure, are you? We are, after all, companions who have grown up together like siblings." Beihai had been speechless, but seeing your nervous expression made her feel strangely amused. Why wouldn't I? Hearing her say that you, on the contrary, felt your nerves steady. Don't toy with me, you aren't that kind of person. Beihai simply looked up at you without a word, but her heart rippled with emotion. That's right. If this youth did not trust me completely, he wouldn't have followed me down here, would he? This thing is very important to you, isn't it? It is. After responding with only those two words, she could not help but drift into memory. The 9 phantoms of the 9-colored origin phoenix had helped her overcome countless trials, and rather than calling it a fortuitous encounter, it was more like an inseparable part of her life. And among them, the hippo had been her longest companion, yet now a piece of her very life had chosen someone else. The mood of the young mistress, the Empress Wang Tian, was complicated to the extreme. You scrutinized the small bird dancing in your palm once more and spoke up. This must be something truly formidable, isn't it? With your train of thought interrupted, Beihai sighed deeply. If it has chosen you, then it belongs to you. You spent so much effort on this. Are you not resentful? I am, but it chose you besides. Without it, I remain who I am. These words from Beihai were exceptionally overbearing and majestic. You admitted to being slightly moved by her imposing demeanor, and despite the difficulty, you wanted to tease this iceberg of a woman. Yet the result was that you were the one who ended up being humbled by her display. Thinking of this, you could not help but laugh. No wonder she is a daughter of destiny, is she not? Immediately afterward, you stopped the little golden bird that was trying to press itself against you. The little golden bird actually revealed an expression of grievance filled with a human-like confusion. You stroked its small head and said with a smile, "Go on, go to where you belong. If you follow her, you will still be able to see me often." The little golden bird seemed to understand your intent and fluttered its wings to perch upon Beihai's shoulder. At this moment, Beihai's face, which resembled cold jade, finally lost its composed and undisturbed serenity. She looked at you with eyes full of astonishment and bewilderment, as if she were acknowledging you for the first time, and asked a question. It has the power to alter your destiny, and even grant you the chance to stand at the pinnacle of the 9 heavens and 10 earths. If you regret this now, there is still time. I am aware, but it is not easy to see you find something you truly value for the first time. In truth, the more precious the object was to her, the greater the return on your investment would be. An inheritance precious enough to alter Beihai's destiny. The system's reward for this, you anticipated, would likely be even more terrifying than the previous one. At this moment, Beihai's quiet eyes remained fixed upon you. His smile remained as radiant as ever, without reluctance, without regret, and seemingly filled with anticipation. Having lived 2 lifetimes, this iceberg of a woman had witnessed too much of the world's cold reality. She had seen couples turn against one another for the sake of serendipity, fathers and sons draw blades upon each other, and brothers betray one another for power. She had long been accustomed to these things. It was precisely because she could no longer trust anyone that she had been able to reach such heights. But today you proactively relinquished this colossal opportunity, one capable of defying the heavens and changing one's fate. This had once again reshaped her perception of you. If you continue to dally like this, it will not be like you. Hurry up and accept the inheritance. Your voice interrupted her train of thought. A trace of softness appeared in Beihai's eyes as she nodded. The little golden bird flew directly into the space between her eyebrows, manifesting there as a plum-red cloud mark. In the very next instant, a myriad of auspicious rays erupted, as brilliant radiance surged out from the cave entrance, blooming with a splendor so magnificent that no words could describe how it illuminated the entire Qingyun sect. Simultaneously, the piercing cry of the phoenix resounded endlessly, reaching the high heavens. It could be heard even across the entire eastern wasteland. Witnessing this scene atop Wangyu Cliff, The elders were so profoundly shaken that they were left speechless. Qian Bufan was the first to recover his senses, quickly rushing to inform the sect master. At this moment, the Qingyun sect had undoubtedly become the most dazzling presence within Ziyang Prefecture. The lord of Ziyang Prefecture stood by his window asking, "Why is there such blinding radiance outside?" Reporting to the prefecture lord, "We have sent an invitation to Elder Yin Huaxuan of the True Beast Peak to visit the prefecture." Understood. And one more thing, Princess Sulong has gone missing. As he finished speaking, the steward, Uncle Wang, was already drenched in cold sweat. After a long silence, the voice of the Ziyang Prefecture lord finally echoed through the room. "Even if you must scour the land 3 feet deep, you will find her and bring her back to me." With such a major event occurring at the Qingyun sect, the sect trials naturally came to an early end. Sect Master Shangguan Wenshang was now standing at Wangyu Cliff. Only then did the elders begin to recover from their state of shock. "How long has it been since Beihai and Xingfeng descended?" "Approximately 2 hours, Sect Master. They have likely entered one of our sect's secret chambers and have already secured the inheritance for themselves." This old man thinks the same. "Ha ha ha, my precious disciple, you truly have brought glory to this master. Once my disciple has obtained the inheritance, he will surely become the next sect master. Once he assumes the position, I shall be the Grand Elder. By then, I shall be able to spend the sect's silver however I please." Ha 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 ha. As she spoke, saliva nearly dripped from Shang Wu's mouth, completely devoid of the decorum an elder ought to possess. The sect master, however, was already accustomed to her behavior, while the other elders could only watch with their lips twitching uncontrollably. If this madwoman Shang Wu were to become the Grand Elder, wouldn't the entire Qing... Thinking of this, the elders were overcome with frustration, their brows furrowed in annoyance. At this moment, Han He suddenly spoke. "I suspect that the young girl Beihai has a greater chance of having obtained the inheritance." The sound earlier was surely from a female. How can you distinguish gender simply by the sound of a voice? These words left Shi Jing somewhat amused. The inheritance could very well be something that both of them attained. No sooner had the words been spoken than Yu and Beihai were lifted by a radiant light back to Wangyu Cliff. Everyone witnessed the satisfied beaming smile on your face. Beihai's peerless beauty seemed to radiate an even more divine quality. For a moment, they truly could not determine into whose hands the fortuitous encounter had fallen. Shang Yu darted before you, assessing you from head to toe. She even leaned in, sniffing at your person. "My good disciple, where is the inheritance? It is not with me." "Then what on earth are you grinning about?" Seeing the crowd shift their attention toward her, Beihai finally gave a slight nod. This disciple has indeed obtained an inheritance from a truly ancient era. As soon as these words were uttered, the elders could hardly suppress their excitement and emotion, viewing Beihai as if she were a precious treasure. Yet Beihai looked toward you, standing by her side. She had assumed you would feel a sense of loss. Instead, she saw you smiling even more joyfully. As it turned out, you had just received the feedback from your system investment. Congratulations to the host for successfully investing in Beihai. You have bestowed upon her a momentous inheritance of great significance. Will you claim the rewards? Thus, even though the ice-cold beauty was being treated like a star, you felt not a shred of envy. If not for the inconvenient timing, you would have claimed the rewards immediately. At this moment, the sect master Shangguan Wenshang finally spoke. "Very well. Beihai's fortuitous encounter is for her alone to manage. There is no need for anyone to pry further. Effective today, Wangyu Cliff is placed under lockdown. The following day, you had just finished preparing lunch. Your beautiful master suddenly appeared beside the table, reaching out to snatch a piece of lamb and popping it into her mouth. You hurriedly handed her a pair of chopsticks. Master, why are you not attending the elders' meeting? Those old men do nothing but repeat the same nonsense. I have no interest in listening to them." After speaking, she plucked another piece of lamb and tossed it into her mouth. The sect master also assigned me a task, which I reluctantly accepted. "My esteemed master, to think that you would actually heed the orders of the sect master. He told me to move to Thuthu Pavilion so that I could conveniently instruct you. If not for Xiaobinger being here, I would have no interest in coming." Upon hearing this, you reveal a bitter smile. You roughly understand the sect master's intentions. Rather than saying she has come to instruct you, it would be more accurate to say she has come to watch over Beihai. Your master may be truly unreliable, but her prowess in combat is equally genuine. If provoked, she would even dare to rip several handfuls of hair from the sect master's beard. With a fierce individual like her standing guard, the safety rating of Thuthu Pavilion has soared exponentially. After finishing the meal, Shang Yu lowers her voice and asks, "Little girl, what kind of inheritance did you receive today?" Beihai puts down her bowls and chopsticks and looks up. Towards this magnanimous elder of Kunyu Peak, her usual coldness has faded by several degrees. As she channels her life force, a layer of radiant glow gradually envelops her. A look of astonishment appears in Shang Yu's eyes, and she casually tosses a wine cup toward her. The cup is met by a surge of gentle internal energy, fixed upon the radiant glow, slowly spinning. The wine itself is condensed into a sphere of water, rotating around her body. Seeing this, Shang Yu nods in satisfaction. Even in the Bloodchi realm, she is already able to project her internal energy outward. No, this is far stronger than internal energy. It is merely a minor application, hardly worth mentioning. Beihai nods slightly, the radiant glow suddenly erupts, and the wine cup shatters into porcelain shards. Shang Yu immediately claps her hands. Impressive, truly impressive. Offensively, you can use the radiant glow to discharge invisible force. Defensively, you can manipulate energy to deflect 1,000 pounds with the strength of 4 ounces. Yet as you look at the pile of debris on the floor, you nearly weep without tears. After all, this was a Qingyu porcelain wine cup of no small value. Suddenly, a thought occurs to you, and you ask Iceberg, how much water can you control? Before the words have left your lips, Beihai walks to the water basin and manifests her radiant glow. You witness the water transform into a water dragon circling around her. Your eyes light up and you immediately place your dinner bowl into the water flow encased by her radiant glow, letting it spin rapidly along with the current. Not bad at all, it cleans quite thoroughly. Observing your miraculous and admiring gaze, the furrow in Bahai's brows gently relaxes. She finds that this feeling is not so disagreeable after all. In his heart, he even felt a slight sense of accomplishment. Say, may I add 2 more bowls to the wash? Of course. Watching the 3 bowls spinning in the water, the protagonist shouted, how impressive! Shang Yu rested her chin on one hand, watching the two of you perform, a faint smile flashing within her weary eyes. The Iceberg? That moniker is quite fitting indeed. That's right, it feels as if something has been forgotten. No matter, it likely isn't of much importance. Others flaunt their affection with flowers or flowery romantic words, yet the two of you choose to perform dishwashing. But in Shang Yu's eyes, this scene held a unique charm, as intimate as the moon rising above the branches. Inside the room, Beihai wrote elegant characters onto a bamboo slip. Having soaked in the Origin Emperor's essence blood pool, your physical body has undergone a total transformation, shedding its old mortal frame. By integrating body tempering, your sword Dao aptitude, while forced, can be considered acceptable if fueled by sufficient effort. Coupled with proper guidance, it is not impossible for you to cultivate a peerless 10,000 sword technique to the great completion stage. Possessing the heart of the innocent, the cultivation of mental arts is the absolute priority. You must pursue a neutral and balanced path to avoid falling into the demonic way. She wrote down a clear assessment of your current state, as well as a roadmap for your future development. She has decided to take you with her when she eventually leaves the eastern wilderness, yet she still cannot fathom how you have undergone such a drastic transformation. Perhaps it is because she herself has been reborn. Or perhaps she simply failed to discover your natural talent in her previous life, but these things no longer matter. Because in this life, she has seized her inheritance and returned to the pinnacle, and in the future she will surely elevate you to the ranks of the true heaven chosen. Withdrawing her focus, she sat on the bed and drew the curtains. Suddenly a bone-chilling cold swept through the room, and ice crystals began to spread slowly, centering from the bed. On the other side, you were busy inspecting your system rewards. Investment Return 1, the Green Gold Heavenly Tome Seal. Investment Return 2, World Seed. Investment Return 3, Formless Glaze Mask. Seeing that you had received 3 investment returns at once, you were so excited that you nearly leaped up. Indeed, the thighs of the mobile iceberg are the easiest to cling to. Tomorrow, you must certainly treat her well. Regaining your composure, you began to carefully observe the first reward. The Green Gold Heavenly Tome Seal has the power to elevate any divine art or martial skill. Upon reading the description, you could not help but gasp in cold shock, never having imagined that even a God-tier cultivation manual could be upgraded. In truth, your knowledge of God-tier manuals was limited to mere legends. You only knew that the highest martial art of the Qingyun sect was but a supreme technique. An intermediate-tier martial art, if mastered, could allow one to become a powerhouse within the Ziyang prefecture. A superior-tier martial art, if mastered, could allow one to establish their own sect. Now, provided your cultivation realm keeps pace, by relying solely on the Fire Crane Tianwu sword technique, you could already be considered a renowned expert within the entire prefecture. As for God-tier manuals, you had only heard of them through the tales of storytellers. 100 years ago, a powerhouse in the central province, known as the Heavenly Punishment Martial Sovereign, fled to the eastern desolate region carrying one such God-tier manual, an event that drew countless powerful figures from outside the realm to descend upon the land. Local sects like the Qingyun sect did not even possess the qualifications to intervene. Even the Grand Shuntian Wei were forced to mobilize personally, yet in the end it remained unknown into whose hands that God-tier manual fell. In your understanding, God-tier manuals represented the absolute ceiling of the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Anything surpassing a God-tier manual was completely beyond the scope of your imagination. It is a pity that for now, you possess not even a God-tier manual. You tucked away the Golden Heaven book seal for later and turned your attention to the next reward. A world seed, a small nascent world currently in a state of infancy, existing in a chaotic state yet to be opened, which will mature and complete itself as the host's strength grows, with the potential to eventually evolve into a true vast world. This time you were genuinely shaken. The mere phrase "a vast world" was enough to signify its immense value. As you claimed this reward, you discovered yourself standing within a small, purely white space, which was evidently your own nascent world. Suddenly, you waved your hand and shouted, "Sword, come!" and immediately from an unknown source, a divine sword flew forth, its blade parting the heavens. Before the words had even faded, boundless sword chi swept across the sky and earth. If one ignored the fact that this world was only 10 feet wide, the strike was, in truth, quite magnificent. Satisfied with your indulgence in playing the role of a peerless swordsman, you shook your head with a bitter smile. Being a swordsman is indeed a joy. It would be fortunate if this move could be used in the outside world, but alas, it was merely this pocket dimension playing along with your whims. Looking at the empty expanse, you suddenly felt the urge to decorate your private space. and after half an incense stick of time, you had exhausted all your resources. You drew upon imagery gathered from reading novels to renovate this place, transforming the barren ground into a landscape of pavilions and towers, all pure and translucent, highlighting a demeanor that was both understated and refined. Inside the pavilion there were alchemical furnaces, a chessboard, and an array of other extraordinary artifacts. You even harbored thoughts of manifesting rare flowers and exotic herbs, yet regrettably, it seems you are currently unable to create life itself. However, you are able to bring living beings from the outside world into this space. With your consciousness withdrawing from the world's seed, you set your sights on the final reward, the faceless glazed mask. Capable of myriad transformations, it can isolate you from all forms of scrutiny and detection. You immediately retrieve the glazed metal mask, fasten it to your face, and gaze into the mirror. You discover that your entire aura has shifted completely. Furthermore, the appearance of the mask responds directly to your will. In an instant, the faceless glazed mask shifts into a dragon head mask, then morphs into a comical pig head mask. When you open your mouth to speak, your voice resonates with a deep, booming quality. Truly an exquisite treasure, even one's voice can be altered at will. Following this, you enter a state of cultivation. Though separated by only a single wall, the image of you and Beihai practicing in tandem carries an aesthetic of harmonious, wedded bliss. On the second day, just as you and Beihai finished breakfast, the old acquaintance Elder Han He arrived for a visit. Beihai, why have you not yet come to the Divine Armament Peak today? Shangwu, lounging on a master's chair, replied, why should they go to the Divine Armament Peak? They are the top 3 finishers of the sect trial. You realize then that the top 3 are granted the privilege to choose their weapons of choice. Good disciples, the 2 of you should quickly follow this old man Han. At this moment, Beihai suddenly spoke up, Elder Han He, I have a request. I wish for Qingfeng and me to postpone our visit to the Divine Wind Cave for a few days. Seeing the puzzled expression on Elder Han's face, Beihai continued to explain, the disciple believes our sword techniques can still be further refined. By then we may be able to obtain even better weapons. That is certainly permissible, but you may delay for at most 3 days. 3 days from now is the peak of the Earthfire season. The Divine Wind Cave will be closed to all entrants. It turns out Beihai has the confidence that within these 3 days, she can elevate your creation sword technique to a higher level, at which point it will be far easier to gain the recognition of a renowned weapon. After Elder Han He departed, Beihai looked toward Shangwu. Elder Shangwu, do you have any arrangements for Qingfeng in the coming days? Aside from cooking, there is nothing of great importance. Then I must trouble you to lend him to me for 3 days. I intend to have him follow me to study the sword arts. After all, Beihai is not your master. If she wishes to teach you anything, she must still seek permission from this primary wife. Xiang Yu nodded, though he remained somewhat curious. I naturally trust in your swordsmanship, but what could possibly be learned in a mere 3 days? I have this. Beihai then drew 3 azure-colored incense sticks from her sleeve. Xiang Yu's eyes widened immediately, the sect master's spirit clarity incense. For her to give even this to you shows incredible generosity. One must understand that spirit clarity incense is a treasure from the central divine continent. Burning it accelerates one's comprehension of martial arts tenfold. However, the spirit clarity tree grows at a glacial pace, reaching only 1 inch every 300 years, making its supply extremely scarce. There surely cannot be much remaining within the sect. That the sect master bestowed 3 sticks upon Beihai at once proves how highly she values her. Xiang Yu scratched his head, feeling a bit embarrassed. Other than give you 2 martial manuals, I seem to do nothing but eat and drink at your expense. Yet when I think about it, you are truly fortunate. Back in those days, she had never even had the chance to use such a fine item herself. Using it now on her precious disciple is much the same. As for you, being able to practice the sword under an invincible wife is something you could only dream of. Though you knew you lacked the talent for swordsmanship, you were not willing to abandon it entirely, especially since you had no other martial arts to practice at the moment. Next, Beihai took your hand to guide your sword form. Half an hour later, she released your hand. She stood silently by your side, holding a wooden ruler. Continue practicing and do not lose focus. Is something the matter? Could it be that the form is incorrect? Do you intend to strike my palm with that ruler? 5 minutes later, the place where you were struck was not your palm but your backside. You immediately covered yourself and protested, I am not a child anymore, why must you strike me there? Though the physical damage was negligible, the humiliation was immense. Seeing this, your beautiful master laughed until she rolled on her recliner, tears even streaming from her eyes. Nevertheless, Beihai remained unmoved, calmly pointing out the flaws in your technique. She did not utter a single word regarding the fact that she had just struck you. Very well, brother, this person activate martial arts enlightenment for me. As 5 years of martial enlightenment flooded your mind, you took up your sword and began to practice once more. This time, it left Beihai somewhat surprised. She had not expected such rapid progress, but after only a few strikes, you stopped and asked, can you guide me through that again? Beihai remained silent for a long moment before nodding in agreement. Thus, she took your hand to teach you the sword once more. As this scene repeated itself many times, it stirred a strange and indescribable feeling within her. She felt that you were at times brilliant and at other times remarkably dull. While being taught, you acted as stubborn as a mule, even frequently committing the most elementary mistakes. Yet, if you were left to close your eyes and contemplate for a moment, it was as if you had reached an epiphany. Every opening and flaw would vanish completely. In truth, she did not realize that you were simply conserving your martial arts enlightenment. No content to translate. On the night of the third day, your swordsmanship, under her personal tutelage, ascended to a new level. However, as Beihai fell into a deep sleep that night, she began to dream. That night, Beihai finally achieved a breakthrough to the 12th meridian, and in her dream she saw herself presiding over the Gi Palace. During the era of Lin Huangtian, the righteous and demonic factions of the Central Plains were locked in a turbulent conflict, while the imperial court sat on the mountain watching the tigers fight, fueling the flames to ensure that both sides would suffer heavy losses. My Gui Palace, under the leadership of Yi Zhengyi, rarely involves itself in the affairs of the Zhonghu, yet it gathers the most talented female cultivators from across the 9 heavens and 10 lands. Because nearly half of the most formidable female cultivators resided there, both sides exerted all their efforts to win her favor. However, the Great Yu dynasty clearly did not want to see the Gu Palace join either side, as that would shatter the delicate balance of power. Thus, the then-regent crown prince prepared countless betrothal gifts, enough to make the greatest powers green with envy, and presented them to the Gui Palace. Although this was not the first time someone had come to propose marriage to Beihai, it was certainly the largest in scale. Yet the outcome remained unchanged. The suitor could not even withstand 3 strikes from Beihai, and he was forced to listen to her deliver a devastating remark. This palace master has no interest in the weak. In reality, she had no interest in worldly dominance or hegemony. She only spoke those words because she was constantly being pestered. Beyond standing at the pinnacle of the martial path, there was nothing else that occupied her mind. But later, the rumors spread and twisted, claiming that the master of Gui Palace would only marry a man stronger than herself. This rumor persisted until she ascended to become the Heaven Sovereign Empress, though by then, no one dared to challenge her any longer. Beihai let out a soft sigh. Without reaching the divine perception realm, one is ultimately unable to fully master one's own spirit. Suddenly, the sound of sword dancing drifted in from outside the window. She leaned against the window frame to look out, realizing it was you still diligently practicing your sword techniques. The sword shadows morphed, at times manifesting as hundreds or thousands, only to converge into one in the next moment. Beihai watched in silence, a faint curve appearing on her lips that even she did not notice. In this regard, I suppose I could be considered a decent teacher. She had originally thought that your mastery of the Fire Crane Heavenly Dance was impressive, but the reality far exceeded her expectations. Half a month from now, when the system publishes the list of geniuses in the Eastern Wasteland, you might truly be found in the middle ranks. Watching you practice your swordsmanship like this, the sky gradually began to brighten. A short while later, you sheathed your sword, unable to suppress a surge of excitement, because the Fire Crane Heavenly Dance had finally reached the realm of perfection. Although you still lacked 100 years of insight into the martial Tao, you no longer feared acquiring new martial arts without the means to utilize them. On the way to the Divine Wind Cave, Beihai reminded you to attempt to claim the Crimson Sky Sword. In truth, you had indeed intended to test the Crimson Sky Sword, not because you held a grudge for being defeated by a blade once before, but because the fire attribute of the Crimson Sky would multiply the power of your Fire Heart Lotus technique. This augmentation might not be significant in the Blood Chi realm, but by the time you reached the Inner Breath realm, it would be formidable indeed. By now, quite a few people had already gathered before the Divine Wind Cave. Upon seeing Beihai arrive, even the chatter in the courtyard quieted down significantly, with various gazes of awe and fear directed toward her. This was the invisible pressure of the iceberg. After all, she was not only the sect master's true disciple but also the future of the sect itself. Within the crowd, Morong Xiao and Xiao Qin greeted you enthusiastically, as you were, after all, their great benefactor. The two spoke of their recent progress. Morong Sui had achieved initial success in body tempering and had begun learning the weapon forging techniques of Divine Weapon Peak, while old Xiao had not only returned to the inner sect, but was even held in high regard by an elder, with the potential to be accepted as a true disciple in the future. Everyone had a bright future ahead of them. Seeing those you had once invested in now rising through the ranks, a sense of accomplishment stirred within you. Not long after, you all proceeded to enter the Divine Wind Cave one after another. However, upon reaching the middle of the first level, Beihai came to an abrupt halt. One could only see her gracefully raise her pristine hand, and instantly over a dozen famous grade longswords flew through the air, all hovering before her, waiting for her selection. Seeing this, you remained as calm as ever, though it felt akin to a cat magnet entering a cat cafe, whereas the others could not maintain their composure. Immediately, gasps of shock erupted everywhere. They marveled that not only had she gained the recognition of these famous blades, but they had even emerged from the third level to await her choice. Was it not said that famous blades with spirits are exceptionally arrogant? Why then have they gathered in such numbers today? Beihai's true inheritance is truly terrifying. Wait, look at that. Everyone followed the direction the disciple pointed, only to see 2 ribbons of silk, one green, one white, shooting toward her. Along the way, the other famous longswords retreated in succession. They were undeniably the legendary profound weapons, Qixuan and Tianshuan. The onlookers felt as if their very breath had ceased. This was a sight they would not even dare to dream of in their sleep. After all, regarding these 2 divine weapons of the peak, the profound grade longswords forged by the founding ancestor were things they had only ever heard of, and had never witnessed in person. Yet, Beihai merely reached out a hand, and the Tianshuan sword fell into her grasp, the blade itself emitting a faint rhythmic hum. seemingly expressing immense delight. Afterward, she paid no mind to the other blades and walked away, sword in hand. As she passed by you, she cast a glance of encouragement, and you felt a touch of helplessness. Truly impressive. She is worthy of being a future empress, for she concluded this matter far too quickly. But just as you prepared to show off a little, the Chixiao sword vanished. It seems I must still tread the ordinary path to undergo the trial of the Chixiao sword. Hearing this, Elder Xiao and Elder Mu simultaneously offered you their encouragement once more. You chuckled and continued your steady stride forward, though a sense of doubt could not help but rise within your heart. That hammer seems to be calling out to me again. If I am only permitted to take one weapon, should I choose the hammer or the sword? You pondered this question for exactly 3 1/3 seconds before choosing the hammer. Are you joking? Of course, you wish to claim it. Elder Han is unlikely to agree, for that hammer is the mountain-guarding treasure of Shenbing Peak. While lost in thought, the three of you have arrived at the 3rd level of the Divine Peak Cavern. Murong Xiao immediately halted, then began to identify a weapon suited to his needs, drawing upon his knowledge as a blacksmith. Under the guidance of the old entity residing within him, Xiao Chen also began his selection. As for you, you continued deeper into the 4th level. Seeing the Chixiao sword silently embedded in the stone steel, you offered a respectful salute. The Chixiao sword trembled faintly, much like it did before, though naturally the frequency of the vibration was far less intense than when it flew to the side of Beihai. It seemed as though it found you rather unappealing. A spark of competitive spirit ignited instantly in your eyes. 30 years to the east, 30 years to the west. Today I shall certainly subdue this blade. It must be said that Chixiao is a sword of double standards. Toward the iceberg, it willingly offered itself, but toward you it presented the trial of enduring 10 of its strikes. If you withstand them, you may become its master. If you fail, then it is merely a regrettable outcome. Suddenly, a familiar swordsman appeared across from you, and the atmosphere instantly turned lethal. The swordsman slowly cupped his hands in a salute. You, clutching your steel sword, returned the gesture. Immediately thereafter, the two figures collided, the sound of clashing metal echoing throughout the 4th level, and at the same time, every legendary sword on the 3rd level hummed in resonance. Elder Xiao and Elder Murong were well aware that you were the cause of this disturbance, but the sound of that sword hymn left them both with their hair standing on end. At this moment, Elder Xiao, with the aid of the Tianxing Martial Venerable residing within him, had gained the recognition of a battered greatsword. Although its appearance was unsightly, and it remained only as a broken fragment, its material quality far surpassed the other legendary weapons. However, its spiritual essence was somewhat weak, requiring him to nurture it personally in the future. Still, Elder Xiao was very satisfied. An hour later, the 10th sword hymn of the Chixiao echoed through the Divine Peak Cavern. Outside the cavern, Elder Han stroked his beard and spoke, his expression revealing a hint of bewilderment. The Chixiao sword has finally acknowledged a master, yet why does there seem to be a sense of reluctance? It is as if it is dissatisfied with the talent of Qingfeng, displaying a hint of disdain while begrudgingly accepting him as its master. This matter left even the old Elder Han quite perplexed. Shang Yu, standing nearby, did not care for such trivialities. He stood with his arms crossed, laughing triumphantly. Haha, old man, both profound weapons have fallen into my hands. Beihai belongs to the North Sea. What does the North Sea have to do with you? Shang Yu could not be bothered to explain, merely regarding him with an expression filled with pity and sympathy. This reaction caused the veins on Old Man Han's forehead to throb. Your gaze is becoming quite disrespectful. Very well, enough nonsense. We made a wager at that time, did we not? Even excluding that girl from the North Sea, that still makes 2 blades. How about this? I will not let you suffer a loss. You no longer need to protect my cultivation. As long as I have a need, I shall come to this Shenfeng cave of yours and take whatever weapon I desire. You are truly a bandit, but you may only take one piece at a time. You have one redeeming quality, old man. You never renege on your debts. Old man was so incensed that the corners of his mouth twitched uncontrollably. Compared to Shang Yu's massive debt, losing this wager meant he had no choice but to offer his weapons as collateral. Meanwhile, Beihai stood at the entrance of the cave with a calm expression, unsurprised that you were able to subdue Chixiao. One must know that this is the first time she has seriously instructed someone. If you could not even claim a single profound weapon, you would hardly be worthy of her title as Empress. Several veteran disciples of the Divine Weapon Peak were already whispering amongst themselves, all simultaneously recalling the legends surrounding these 2 swords. Legend has it that the patriarch who forged these 2 blades bestowed them upon his 2 disciples. Those 2 were a deeply devoted couple, and because of this, they created a sword technique that allowed them to battle opponents of higher cultivation levels. In the eastern wasteland at that time, they were renowned throughout the land. Later, after both passed away, the Tianyang and Chixiao swords never again accepted a master simultaneously. That sword technique was also left to gather dust, and no one has witnessed its true glory since. Today, these 2 profound weapons have once again found their masters. Consequently, everyone's gaze shifted toward Beihai. However, her jade-like aloof features remained devoid of any emotion. Your cold-natured wife stood at the entrance like a statue, while the arrogant Chixiao was now gripped firmly in your hand. In truth, Chixiao had no intention of choosing you. After all, your talent for the sword is merely average, yet irony decreed that at your age you had cultivated the superior sword technique to the realm of perfection, and so it reluctantly accepted you as its master. Whether it was reluctant or not is of no importance now. As long as you can wield it, that is enough. Caressing the blade as smooth and polished as jade, you grinned. With the sword technique mastered and a precious blade in hand, if I am not a swordsman, then who is? Ha 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 ha. Having said that, you look toward the cave entrance at the end of the fourth floor of the Divine Wind Cave, where the sense of being summoned grows even more intense, clearly emanating from the divine artifact, the Jijun Star Hammer. Although using a hammer does not quite align with my personal preferences, it is, after all, a divine weapon, and it shares a resonance with my extreme weapon body, and more importantly, it desires to follow me. Since that is the case, I shall stand on no ceremony. Setting aside these thoughts, you quickly step into the cave, but after walking only 100 paces, your physical body is already struggling to endure, unable to withstand the sharp, killing aura radiating from the hammer. Even though you have pushed the extreme weapon body to its absolute limit, you find yourself unable to take another step forward. Seeing faint signs that your physical form is beginning to collapse, you hastily retreat to the cave entrance. Very well, it seems that effort alone is not enough to obtain this divine weapon. In that case, let us begin with 20 years. And as your intent stirs, 20 years of martial arts enlightenment flows instantly into your extreme weapon body. Half an hour later, the extreme weapon body has ascended from great completion to the realm of perfection. You raise an eyebrow in slight surprise, not expecting it to require so little insight, having been so accustomed to the taxing nature of sword cultivation that you are momentarily caught off guard. With a soft shout, you transform your body into a weapon. Soon, your very physique begins to emanate a sharp metallic killing intent, the likes of which you previously used to temper your physical frame. Simultaneously, the crushing sensation of pressure diminishes significantly, to the point where you can withstand as much as you desire. In the blink of an eye, you reach the boundary of ice and fire, where you finally have the time to carefully observe this divine weapon. The head and the shaft of the hammer appear as one, as if forged by the heavens themselves. The front of the hammerhead is square, while the rear is pointed. The square face resembles a great seal, simple yet exquisite, while the pointed side resembles jagged rocks shaped by gales, carved by ghosts, and chiseled by gods. One-faced, you suppressed your dangerous thoughts and reached out, gently gripping the hammer's handle. Even if I do not know why you beckon to me, since you have chosen me, today I shall take you with me. Before the words had even faded, your mind felt as if the primordial chaos had just begun to open, shaken into a vast white void, and your hand was nearly forced to let go by the sheer impact. Yet, in this critical moment, you could not let go. You could only grit your teeth and persist. The 13 channels you had unblocked were now fully mobilized, and every ounce of strength within your physical body was squeezed out to the very last drop. In truth, the Banjie Shun Xing had already been quite cooperative with you. Otherwise, as a mere cultivator at the Bloodkey realm, how could you possibly wield such a heaven-defying divine weapon? At this very moment, the Shenfeng cave began to tremble violently, and the entire divine weapon peak did not cease its tremors. Fortunately, the majority of people had already chosen their weapons and departed, but seeing the overwhelming pressure surging out from the Shenfeng cave, the expression on Old Man Han He's face shifted continuously. During the last time this ancestral artifact stirred, he had vaguely suspected it was connected to you. But what he had not expected was that the fluctuations of the Banjie Shun Xing would be this intense. A thought bordering on the absurd emerged in his mind. Could it be that it is about to accept a master? Xiang Yu standing beside him seemed to see right through his intentions. Tell me, Old Man Han, you must keep the promise you made earlier. If he truly can lift it, what harm is there in letting him take it away? Having said this, she flicked her sleeves and strode into the cave with a huff. Meanwhile, although you had exerted your full strength to shift the Banjie Shun Xing, you had only managed to move it a fraction. This was even the result of the hammer lowering its pride and cooperating with you to the utmost. Seeing that the divine weapon was merely borrowing your strength to move itself by that tiny margin, you had no choice but to relax your grip. This hammer may not look large, but it is truly terrifyingly heavy. However, it matters not, for I still have the World Seed. Immediately, you imbued your body with the power of the World Seed, and instantly, your entire form was flooded with endless, heaven-shaking strength. You even felt a sense of grand illusion that if this divine weapon peak had a handle for you to grab, you would be able to lift the entire mountain itself. With a deafening roar, you shouted, "Rise for me!" The very moment the hammer was lifted from the ground, you swiftly stored it into your small world, and then, completely drained of energy, you collapsed onto the ground, your head lolling to the side as you fell into unconsciousness. Fortunately, a divine weapon is not considered a living being. Otherwise, you would have had no way to store it within your minor world. As you opened your eyes once more, the aged face of Elder Han was pressed directly against yours. Speak quickly. Where is the hammer? Where has the founding master's hammer gone? Kang Yu, sitting by the bedside, suddenly let out a cold snort, telling him to lower his voice. Do you not see that my disciple is currently very weak? This remark caused Han He to curse silently in his heart. What is this? You have lost the mountain-guarding treasure of our divine weapon peak, and you expect me to smile and serve you? Yet he knew that haste only leads to failure. He was forced to try and ask again in a gentle tone, Lin, the true disciple, when you went to the bottom of the divine peak cavern, did you see a hammer? Have you seen where the hammer went? It vanished into thin air. How could it have been lost? I was curious, so I stepped forward to touch it, and it suddenly disappeared. It seems I have stored it away within my spatial vessel. You omitted certain details of the process and replaced the mention of your minor world with a spatial vessel. After all, this world possesses items such as storage bags, collectively referred to as spatial vessels. For instance, the wine gourd belonging to your beautiful master is one such item. Naturally, such an object is not a cheap commodity as frequently depicted in novels. A spatial vessel is tied to the most profound Tao of space. To forge a dimension within rare and exotic treasures, one must be an absolute powerhouse who has mastered this path. Therefore, the number of spatial vessels is exceptionally rare. Outside of the Kangyu family, the various peak elders do not possess such high-tier items, and only the sect master holds one in his possession. Hearing this, Kang Yu's eyes instantly brightened. The inheritance your disciple received is truly not bad. Although Elder Han was shocked, his suspicions did not diminish. On the contrary, they only grew. Because no matter how powerful a spatial vessel may be, it cannot store an object that the owner is unable to lift. Kang Yu, however, stepped in to help you out, suggesting that the hammer must have already chosen its master. A divine weapon might feel as light as a feather to its true master, yet weigh 1,000 caddies to anyone else. Is that not so? It sounded perfectly reasonable, but you knew full well that the Wan Jieshun Xingchui did not possess such a trait. Turning your head, you see your beautiful master winking at you. You immediately nod in understanding. Reporting to Elder Han, at that moment I truly did not feel much weight, but as for retrieving it now, can you do so? When I retracted it, my spirit suffered a violent shock. I nearly lost consciousness. I fear I lack the strength to extract it again in such a short time. Therefore, my disciple must be allowed to rest properly. If his spirit has been damaged, oh dear, who knows if he will ever be able to retrieve it in this lifetime. Seeing you two master and disciple working in perfect harmony, Old Man Han realizes that the mace has most likely been taken by you. Although their ancestors left no relevant records behind, Shang Yu's words carry a distinct possibility of truth. After a moment of contemplation, Elder Han he speaks up again. Since that is the case, before this Lin disciple can retrieve the divine weapon, he shall remain here at Divine Weapon Peak, leaving him under your care, old man. What, you wish to snatch my disciple away? Who would covet your disciple? This old man merely wishes to safeguard the ancestor's divine weapon. This time, Elder Han is uncharacteristically firm, knowing that even if this matter reaches the sect matter, he stands on reasonable ground. Yet Shang Yu's concerns are also logical and sound, because if the extinguishing star mace has chosen its master, and if that person is a disciple of Divine Weapon Peak, he will undoubtedly become the next elder of this peak. You also vaguely realize a clue. Could this old man be intending to keep you here to forge iron? That simply will not do. If that happens, how am I to embrace the jade thighs of my iceberg master in the future? Just as you are pondering this, you hear Elder Han drop a weighty proposal. Let the Lin disciple stay here. All future expenses for a master like you will be covered by Divine Weapon Peak. Clearly, the old man is prepared to bleed his coffers dry. Looking back at your beautiful master, her eyes are already sparkling, and you instantly adopt a look of righteous integrity. Elder, what are you saying? My master has a noble character. Would she truly abandon her disciple for the sake of mere silver? Isn't that right, master? Master? But your beautiful master seems to have not heard a word you said. She appears to be busy calculating a careful. Fine delicacies were provided without limit. You seriously doubted whether she could even hear the sound of silver coins clinking anymore. It seemed you had still underestimated your master's poverty and her inherent greed for worldly comforts. Thus, you leaned close to her ear and lowered your voice. Master, if this disciple remains at Shenbing Peak, there will be no one left to cook for you in the future. Delicious food and fine wine will be no more, you see. Although your beautiful master was fiercely protective of her disciples, she could not suppress her covetous nature. Upon hearing that she would no longer be able to enjoy the meals you prepared, those beautiful, seemingly vacant eyes instantly snapped into focus. I am not that kind of person, you said, immediately heaving a sigh of relief as you cupped your hands in salute toward Elder Han. Elder Han, you worry too much. This disciple possesses a modest fortune. As for you, how much could you possibly have? Before your words had even faded, a soft clink echoed. Two glistening silver-tinted metal blocks appeared in the palm of your hand. Witnessing this, Han He's eyes widened in sheer disbelief. This is refined spirit iron. One must know that it takes 10,000 caddies of iron to refine a single tael of this essence. Ordinary weapons, even with just a sliver added, can become sharp enough to sever hair in the wind and cut through steel like mud. Before the old man could recover his senses, a flaming red metal block the size of a fist appeared in your other hand. This time, Elder Han he could no longer maintain his composure, because this was the exceptionally rare and precious flame rock copper ore. The Chixiao sword itself contained this very material. Well played, you stinking brat. You call this a modest fortune? Elder Han could not help but begin to contemplate the origins of the inheritance you had received. Xing Yu was also pondering this question. Could the expert who left behind this inheritance have been a merchant guild master in the past, or perhaps a notorious master thief? Seeing both of them left speechless by your display, you immediately feigned a generous demeanor. Elder Han, you are a renowned grandmaster, only you possess the skill to ensure these materials reach their full potential. Hearing this, the old man nodded in satisfaction, though he insisted on establishing 3 conditions before allowing you to leave. The first was that if Shenbing Peak ever required the use of the godly armament refining hammer, you, as the master of the weapon, must provide your assistance. The second was that until your strength was sufficient, you were not to spread news regarding this divine weapon. The third was to never let this divine weapon be stained by unjust blood. You agreed without a moment's hesitation. Even if Elder Han he had not mentioned it, you would have done so regardless. On the path back to the Kushui Pavilion, the beautiful master stood with one hand on her hip while her other arm rested heavily on your shoulder, laughing with a complete lack of decorum. Haha, my good disciple, you certainly have a cunning streak, don't you? To be able to run circles around Old Man Han like that. You have already mastered 6 or 7 parts of my own ability. It wasn't even a true deception after all. Show your master that dagger now. You replied that you truly could not produce it. After all, she had not yet fully recovered. If you were to channel the power of the insect world once more, you feared that you would force this great beauty to witness you collapsing from exhaustion right on the spot. Seeing Shang Yu's face darken, you hurriedly changed the subject. Master, back there, were you truly intending to sell me off? How could that be? That was merely a test from your master. A test indeed. Master, you seem flustered. You insolent disciple, do you dare to question your own mentor? As she spoke of overturning the natural order, Shang Yu's pace noticeably quickened. Watching her retreating figure, you chuckled and asked, Master, how about we have some 30-year-aged Juling wine and a whole roasted lamb tonight? As soon as those words left your lips, Shang Yu came to an immediate halt. How many years has it been aged? 30 years. A short while later, as you and your master arrived at the courtyard, you found Beihai sitting at the stone table, leisurely sipping tea. I thought you had returned to your chambers to cultivate. You have not yet eaten dinner? What a coincidence. I have not eaten either. I shall go prepare a meal for everyone immediately. Watching you head toward the kitchen, Beihai suddenly posed a question. Elder Shangyu, what exactly transpired at the Shenfeng cave today? However, Shangyu offered no response. When Beihai turned to look, she found that the beautiful master had already fallen asleep on her recliner, and she was snoring with a remarkably rhythmic, steady sound. In truth, even without Shangyu speaking, she had already deduced 7 or 8 parts of the truth, though the outcome remained beyond her expectations. She knew of the existence of the divine artifact within Shenfeng Cave only because of Shang Yu. During the fall of the Qingyun sect, it was Shang Yu who had paid a tremendous price to seize that Panji Junxing hammer. Later, when she traveled to the central divine continent, she had witnessed divine artifacts that were not inferior to that hammer, yet in the end, there were none that gave her the same sense of boundless, overwhelming power. With the exception of those Tao artifacts born from the very creation of heaven and earth, which stood even above divine artifacts, such as the Zhongshan Sheiji seal held by the emperors of the Great History Dynasty. She merely recalled that in her previous life the Shengxing all had no master. Back then, Shang Yu could only barely manage to activate it once. Shortly thereafter, both of them vanished without a trace. At that moment, Beihai broke free from her train of thought. You walked out carrying the prepared lamb meat. You placed it upon the rack and began to light the fire. Watching you work with the proficiency of a master chef, the iceberg was stunned into silence. Could that divine weapon be linked to him in some way? At that time, the lingering soul of the 9-colored origin emperor also seemed to view him in a different light. Come here and lend a hand, you said, placing a brush into her hand, cutting off her thoughts. Before she could even react, you brought a clay jar filled with sauce and set it before her. This is my specially crafted soul essence paste. Even Yang Yang would be rendered speechless by its deliciousness. It is entrusted to you. You spoke while slowly rotating the roasting rack. And so, this sovereign heaven empress took hold of it, used the brush to dip into the so-called soul essence paste, and began to cook for the first time in her life. Following that, you decisively handed over the task of rotating the rack to her. Before long, the lamb meat began to sizzle as the fat rendered. Watching the serious expression on Beihai's face as she applied the sauce, you nodded in satisfaction. With this iceberg cooking a meal, she possessed a touch of mortal warmth. It seemed she was not quite as cold and detached as she appeared. Perhaps one day, you could even make this iceberg feed you herself. Very quickly, you abandoned that thought as half of the lamb was scorched black, while the other half remained completely raw. Yet this noble empress continued to rotate the meat, seemingly unaware that anything was amiss. You were left somewhere between laughter and tears, my lady. It is already burnt. She continued to roast the charred meat with earnest focus. Sensing your gaze, Beihai looked up, revealing a look of confusion. Is something the matter? It is nothing. You must be tired. Let me handle it. By the time the roasted lamb was finished, everyone dispersed and returned to their respective quarters. You remained in your room to inventory the rewards from your investment returns. Your beautiful master brought you 500 taels of gold. However, the returns from the Frost Beauty were even more lucrative. 8 profound crystals, various medicinal pills with green-patterned inscriptions, ores, and exotic herbs were all present. After organizing your rewards, you entered the insect world. Compared to before, the area seemed to have expanded slightly, and the Banjie Fallen Star mace hung quietly upside down over the empty space before the chessboard. The Mochi Xiao sword, usually arrogant and unyielding, remained tucked away in the corner, not daring to approach. Sensing your arrival, the mace vibrated gently twice. Although its oppressive, razor-sharp killing intent remained, it could no longer exert any pressure upon you, for you are, after all, the master of this realm. You silently recited the phrase of boundless power in your heart, then stepped forward and grasped the handle of the mace. Indeed, you lifted it with ease, feeling absolutely no weight at all. If not for the emotions of joy radiating from the Banjie Fallen Star mace, one might have mistaken this divine weapon for a mere imitation. You swung it gently twice, and the violent, sharp killing aura surged outward, instantly causing the small world to shift as if the heavens themselves were enraged. Following this, you brought the mace down, the resulting disturbance truly resembling a meteorite strike possessing immense destructive power. You felt like an invincible sovereign atop the nine heavens, and at this moment the Banjay Fallen Star mace hummed incessantly, growing even more excited, as if it had not been wielded to its full potential for a long time. Faintly you heard a voice resonate, "I wish to go outside." Impossible. Was this sound emanating from the mace itself? Immediately after, you looked down to identify the source of the sound, and you understood the intent of this divine weapon. It seems you are itching to smash something. In truth, I wish for the same. Regrettably, my current strength does not permit it. Hearing this, the Banji Fallen Star mace felt somewhat aggrieved. Its rudimentary spiritual intelligence was not yet capable of comprehending such complex matters. Why did this master clearly possess the ability to unleash its power to such a pure extent, yet refuse to take it out to wreak havoc? You gently stroked the head of the mace in consolation. "Wait until the time is ripe, and I will surely allow you to display your true brilliance." The mace vibrated softly in response. You pondered seriously. Now that you possess a divine mace, should you perhaps seek out a technique for wielding it? For a swordsman like you to possess knowledge of mace techniques, it would surely seem reasonable to everyone. However, from the investment rewards you received, there was truly no martial art related to mace techniques. A sudden inspiration struck you. You remembered that by placing first in the trial, you were granted the right to ascend to the 5th floor of the library to select a martial art manual. Thus, you took Shitu and left the insect world, heading straight for the library, reaching the 5th floor without a soul daring to obstruct your path. You walked directly to the section containing weapon techniques, but after searching high and low, you found nothing but mace forging manuals or martial arts suited only for massive warhammers. You could only let out a sigh of helplessness. It was only natural. Throughout the Jianghu, one hears of sword gods, blade sects, spear immortals, but never has one heard of a title involving the mace. Mace techniques are already obscure enough, and the Ban Kiep Van Ting Trui is a short-handled mace at that. It is truly the most obscure among the obscure. Just as you finished muttering to yourself, the voice of Murong Xiao drifted from behind. "Brother Lin, what a coincidence. Brother Murong, have you also come to select a martial art?" Hearing this, old Mo gave a bitter laugh. "Brother Lin, you misunderstand. I have not informed my master," a statement that left you feeling somewhat suspicious. But as you activated your Heaven's Mandate divine eyes, you immediately understood. Name, Murong Xiao. Age, 16. Root, Mingjiao Physique. Realm, 7th Pulse of the Blood, Qi Realm, Cyan Gray. Background, father is a human, mother is a transformed beast. Temperament, kind-hearted but suffering. Due to the influence of his bloodline, if he could harmonize the strengths of both, his future would be boundless. If the two negatives were to merge, he would become a regional disaster. Recently influenced by his bloodline, he has been plagued by complex tasks and endless nightmares. He dreams of his hands stained with fresh blood, so he wishes to find a mental cultivation manual to calm his spirit. I already told the Shen Peak leaders, why would they be stingy with a manual for a direct disciple? So the cause lay within Old Mo himself. As you were pondering this, Old Mo revealed the truth. "Brother Lin, I will not hide it from you. My master does not yet know that my half-demon bloodline originates from the Mingjiao, which is why you came to the library yourself." "That is correct. I do not wish to deceive my master, but I dare not tell the truth, so I had to sneak here, hoping to find a mental cultivation manual to suppress the negative effects of the Mingjiao bloodline." You shook your head helplessly. This child, Old Mo, is truly too honest. In your eyes, the old man Han He is actually quite reasonable to talk to. As long as one fabricates a story with enough sincerity, isn't obtaining a manual a trivial matter? If it were you, you could even secure a top-tier manual. Pulling back your thoughts, you said solemnly, "You might find a manual, but do not expect a mid-tier cultivation technique to suppress your bloodline." "Then, what must I do?" Having said that, you placed a book into his hands. "This is the Golden Bell Claw, a superior body refinement martial art." Seeing Murong Xiao's bewildered expression, you patiently explained. "Achieving peace of mind does not necessarily require a meditation technique. This superior martial art originates from the Buddhist sects, concealing profound Buddhist principles. It is a path that cultivates both the body and the spirit. If you master the Golden Bell Claw, why fear the intrusion of distracting thoughts?" Upon hearing this, Murong Xiao, previously mired in gloom, brightened instantly. He bowed towards you with great agitation. "Brother Lin, I owe you a great debt once again." Looking at his demeanor, it seemed that aside from bearing children for you, he would not even bat an eye at any other request you made. Once old Murong departed in high spirits, the system promptly delivered a notification. "Congratulations to the host for successfully investing a superior martial art in Murong Xiao, helping him escape the predicament of his bloodline. The investment return is one ancient bronze heavenly scroll seal. The ancient bronze heavenly scroll seal can be applied to any martial art, allowing it to undergo deduction and refinement, thereby elevating the grade of the martial art, with the potential to upgrade a martial art to the level of a peerless technique." Gazing at the description on the console, you were beyond overjoyed, because not only could a superior martial art be transformed into a peerless one, but you could also choose the type of peerless technique it would become. Murong Xiao had provided a truly lucrative return this time. Thereafter, you continued your search on the 5th floor, and half an hour later, you finally located the 12 hammers of settling the storm. This hammer technique was not only a superior martial art, but it was also a short-handled style perfectly tailored to your needs. With an excited heart, your hands trembled as you flipped through the pages. but your smile vanished instantly when you reached the 8th form and found the rest missing. After weighing the pros and cons, you decided to take this hammer technique as you had no other choices at the moment. When the deacon of the scripture pavilion received the manual, he hesitated as he began to record it, stunned by the name of the martial art, then looked at the Qing Chi Xiao longsword hanging at your waist, and finally spoke up. Junior brother Lin, this is a hammer technique. Are you certain you have not chosen the wrong one? After all, given that you have been acknowledged by Qi Xiao, in their eyes, a genius of the sword path has chosen a manual of mace techniques. It was completely beyond their comprehension. You nodded and offered a faint smile. Senior brother, I have not chosen in error. As the saying goes, stones from other hills may serve to polish the jade of this one. Now that I have mastered sword arts, studying other martial techniques might provide further enlightenment. This martial art may be flawed, but selecting it consumes one of your opportunities. Junior brother Lin should think carefully. Senior brother need say no more, for my mind is made up. Very well. Within 1 month, pray return the manual. Under no circumstances is it to be disseminated. The moment you stepped out of the scripture pavilion, Beihai cradled Tianchang and entered the main peak's sword training grounds. Sectmaster Shangguan Wensheng and the elders had been waiting for some time. It turned out they also wished to witness Beihai's sword techniques, to see what sort of ability she possessed that compelled the Tianchang sword to claim her as its master. As Beihai drew her sword, a surge of sword light suddenly illuminated the entire hall. The sword aura stirred the pear blossoms surrounding the training grounds, and each petal moved in synchronization with the long sword in her hand, at times dispersing, at times gathering. When they dispersed, they were exquisitely beautiful yet concealed a lethal intent. When they gathered, the chill was astonishing and peerlessly domineering. The moment Beihai sheathed her sword, every single petal simultaneously shattered into shards of ice. Witnessing this, none of the elders could refrain from expressing their admiration, finally understanding why the Tianchang sword had been so eager to claim its master. This was no longer something that could be comprehended through mere superior-grade martial arts, let alone the Qi and Blood realm. Even those in the Guanshan realm might not fathom the profundity within it. This meant that Beihai, while still in the Qi and Blood realm, already possessed a depth of martial accumulation surpassing even those in the Guanshan realm. This was the true definition of a genius. The elders were left speechless, finding no words to describe the scene. At this moment, the sect master spoke slowly. Beihai, was it you who guided Qingfeng's sword techniques? Reporting to the sect master, yes. I see, so that is how it is. In the way of the sword, even though I pride myself on my extensive learning, I fear it would be difficult to find anyone with a talent for the sword to match yours. In truth, there was someone stronger than her. While the sword was the weapon she wielded most naturally, it was not her greatest strength. Thinking of a true monster of the sword path, a single name emerged in her mind. Suddenly, Elder Shui asked, Beihai, how many meridians have you opened now? Has there been any change in the icy energy within your bloodline recently? A single meridian. The aura of frost remained unchanged. As those words were spoken, the eyes of the elders went wide with shock. Before they could even collect their thoughts, Xiao Beihai calmly added another remark. Approaching 13 meridians, the elders, already stunned into stillness, were nearly shattered by the revelation. Everyone present knew that a martial artist in the Qi and Blood realm could open a maximum of 13 major meridians. If one could open 13 meridians while still in the Qi and Blood realm, it implied that Beihai's true limit far exceeded 13. The sect master was the first to regain his composure and continued to ask, Beihai, what is the maximum number of major meridians you feel you can open? 24? No sooner had those words left her lips than the elders could not help but gasp in cold shock. Compared to this young girl, the geniuses they had previously known were of no significance. At the same time, beside a waterfall near Chushui Pavilion, you exhaled a breath of turbid air and ceased your cultivation. Excellent, truly excellent. This session of cultivation has allowed me to open 2 meridians at once. Your physical body has also completely recovered. You then withdrew the manual for the 12 piercing waves of the gale from your robes and applied the heavenly book seal upon it. However, there was no reaction at all. The small characters upon the pages showed no sign of flowing inward, making it evident that the heavenly book seal could not perfect a fragmented martial art. I wonder if it is possible to imbue the fragments with my insights into the martial Tao? Shall I test this hypothesis? It must be said that you are truly a talent for the hammer. Having channeled only 1 year of martial Tao insights, you actually pushed the fragmented hammer technique to the great perfection stage. This left you in a state of existential doubt. Why did the sword technique fail, yet the hammer technique succeed? With a complex heart, you poured in 5 more years of insight. Not only did you repair the fragmented hammer technique, but you even ascended into the realm of transformation. After a long moment, you sighed. Is it because my natural talent for the hammer was always superior, or has my aptitude been enhanced since I became the master of the star-shattering dagger? Forget it, there is no use dwelling on it. At last, I can finally upgrade it into an ultimate art. You then walked to a flat slab of blue stone, spread a sheet of paper across it, and wielded your brush with swift strokes. Before long, a complete superior-grade martial art appeared upon the page. He then pressed the ancient bronze seal upon it. The tadpole-like inscriptions swirled, surging into the manual to rapidly rearrange themselves. In the final moment, even the name of the martial technique transformed into 7 destinies of heaven and earth. A brand new supreme technique was born, for the 7 destinies of heaven and earth was the evolved successor to the 12 waves of the settling wind. By fundamentally restructuring the core principles of the manual, it pushed the concept of deliberation to its absolute limit, focusing on overcoming speed with slowness and crushing weight with grace. Once mastered to the state of perfection, a single strike appeared effortless, yet it could unleash a truly terrifying destructive force. Ha ha ha, when that time comes, cleaving mountains, parting seas, and severing rivers will be of no concern. Martial enlightenment, activate. With 20 years of martial insight poured into the technique, the 7 destinies of heaven and earth reached the state of perfection. This development was once again beyond your expectations. Could it be that I was born to be a master of the blade? Enough dwelling on it, I should return for now. Just as you stepped into the autumn water pavilion, Beihai happened to return as well. What a coincidence, tell me, I require your assistance with a matter. She sat at the stone table and habitually poured a cup of tea. Though you were somewhat suspicious, you sat down regardless. Beihai took a sip of tea before continuing. Are you accepting any sect missions that lead to Ziyang Prefecture City? I have yet to accept a mission, though I do indeed intend to seek one located in Ziyang Prefecture City. If you have something to say, speak plainly. I want you to help me find someone. She is likely living as a beggar now. Having said this, she could not help but drift into her memories. It turned out that years ago, when she failed to join the Qingyun sect, she took shelter in an abandoned residential district within Ziyang Prefecture City. It was there that she met Jiang Sulong, who was likewise left without a place to turn. Had it not been for the mutual support she shared with Jiang Sulong, she would never have been able to open her meridians in her previous life. Now that she has entered the Qingyun sect, Jiang Sulong is left entirely on her own. Breaking free from her thoughts, she took a pen and paper to sketch the woman's appearance before handing it to you. I ask that you find her and ensure she is properly settled with food and shelter. Rest assured, while Ziyang Prefecture City is vast, finding one person should not prove too difficult. However, upon looking at the sketch, you could not help but be caught between laughter and tears. I must ask, does a person truly look like this? Is this not a bit too abstract? It is perfectly fine. Look, the features are quite distinct. The woman has very large eyes and a very small mouth. Does she have any other intuitive characteristics? Hearing this, Beihai pondered for a long time before replying, yes. There is a ghastly scar upon her. Furthermore, if she were to wash her face, she would be quite beautiful. And just how beautiful, you ask? Compared to me, we each possess our own unique charm. Finally, from the words of that iceberg, you have obtained some concrete information. That afternoon, you sat in a luxurious carriage heading down the mountain, accompanied by Murong Xiao. He had also accepted a sect mission, and as luck would have it, your paths aligned. Inside the carriage, Murong Xiao examined the portrait laid out on the table. The man in the portrait is the notorious bandit, Tian Bakuang. His strength is within the internal breath condensation realm. He is well versed in iron body techniques and excels in blade arts. He carries the blood of dozens of lives upon his hands. 10 days ago, he was severely wounded by an outer sect deacon. Even while injured, he remains a formidable opponent. However, to you, he represents a worthy subject for practical combat training. After all, until now, you have yet to truly engage in a life-or-death struggle. At this thought, Murong Xiao could not help but ask, Brother Lin, why did you accept the mission to hunt down this bandit? I happen to be searching for someone as well, so this is merely a convenient detour. Since Brother Lin has accepted this mission, even if I have to dig 3 feet deep into Ziyang Prefecture City, I shall certainly find this man for you. You chuckle, feeling that since learning the Golden Bell grasp, Old Mo has become somewhat earnest and sincere. Recalling your need to find someone, Old Mo asks again, That's right, Brother Lin, besides Tian Bakuang, who else are you looking for? A young beggar. Upon hearing this, Murong Xiao actually picks up a brush and begins to seriously record every word you say. It turns out he intends to return home and ask his grandfather for assistance. After all, the Murong family is quite well informed when it comes to intelligence. Before long, you arrive at the Murong estate. Upon entering the main hall, you see 2 elders sitting and drinking tea. One elder waves his hand to beckon Murong Xiao. The other elder, dressed in purple robes with hair half black and half white, rests his gaze upon you, lingering particularly on the long sword at your waist. Immediately afterward, Murong Hai stands up to welcome you. This must be the true disciple Lin, is it not? Truly a man of exceptional talent, a hero born of youth indeed. Just a moment ago, I was drinking tea with the prefect. Upon hearing that true disciple Lin was arriving, he lingered here to consume quite a bit of my cloud mist tea. It appears this must be the profound weapon, Xiao. It seems the Qingyun sect will soon have 2 more sword immortals in the making. This junior pays his respects to Patriarch Murong and the prefect. You 2 seniors are too kind. Please, have a seat. After exchanging a few pleasantries, the banquet was set to host and entertain during the meal. Murong Hai grasped his grandson's hand, quietly sensing his condition. Suddenly, he let out a soft exclamation. This did not appear to be the body-tempering secret art of Shenbing Peak. You have seen through it, elder. This was given to me by Brother Lin. I have yet to even begin cultivating it. You observed Murong Xiao's inner thoughts. Smiling dismissively, you told him that it was fine to show his grandfather, as it was not borrowed from the scripture library, and there was no fear of it leaking out. Only then did Murong Xiao feel at ease, taking out the manual for the Golden Bell Claw. Old Man Murong took it and began to flip through the pages, his eyes growing brighter with every passing moment. As a master of the Guanshen realm himself, he immediately recognized this as a Buddhist body-tempering secret art. It not only strengthened the physical body, but also purged impure thoughts and cleansed the spirit. It was as if this technique had been meticulously tailored for his grandson. In truth, he had been searching for a similar martial art for some time, but had never yielded any results. This golden bell claw was likely a rare treasure, even among the highest tier of martial arts. Thinking of this, he could not help but ask, "Little friend Lin, this technique is precious, but the sacred art should not be lightly imparted." You understood the hidden meaning behind Morong Hai's words, for regardless of whether it is a great sect or a small faction, they all hold their martial arts in high regard, strictly forbidding them from being leaked to outsiders. Once the theft of a martial art is discovered by the rightful owners, it is entirely justifiable for them to come to your doorstep and beat you to death. At the very least, they would cripple your cultivation. However, since this was a gift from the system, you had no such concerns. You calmly replied, "Brother Morong and I share a deep friendship. The golden bell claw just happens to suit him perfectly. Consider it finding a successor for this martial art, otherwise I fear it would be lost to time." Hearing your explanation, Old Man Morong's brows finally relaxed. The mansion master, who had remained silent until now, suddenly asked, "Disciple Lin's fortune is have you perhaps encountered the inheritance of some great expert?" "Perhaps," you replied, an answer that seemed to align with his expectations, yet the look in his eyes held a deeper meaning. It seemed that the inheritance responsible for the radiance seen at the Qingyun sect that day did not lie with this young man. Although you were a traveler who had only just stepped into the world, your way of conducting yourself was truly mature and thorough. Even though you noticed the mansion master watching you the entire time, you feigned ignorance and even took the initiative to toast him. Perhaps your excessive enthusiasm made the mansion master feel uneasy, as he excused himself and left halfway through the banquet. At this moment, Morong Hai looked at you with a gentle smile, saying, "Young Master Lin, since you have arrived, you must stay for a few days so we may offer our proper hospitality." After speaking, he looked toward his grandson, Shower. "From now on, you must treat young Master Lin as your elder brother. Is that understood?" He did not know which of you was older, but that was of no consequence, for you possessed not only exceptional talent, but also an incredibly tactful and refined demeanor. You were certainly not someone meant to remain in a shallow pond. Provided no mishaps occurred, you were destined to become a high-ranking member of the Qingyun sect, and the position of sect master might even be within your reach. Even without the matter of passing on the cultivation technique, it was imperative to maintain a positive relationship with you. Murshao nodded like a chicken pecking at grain. In truth, he would have done so even without his grandfather's reminder. One had to remember that you were his greatest benefactor. Morong Hai was very pleased with his grandson's attitude. This child was worth teaching. "That is right. Your descent from the mountain this time must be to carry out a sect mission, is it not?" "That is correct, Elder. My junior sister needs to find 10 stalks of bloodborne grass, and Brother Lin wishes to hunt down the fugitive Tian Baguang." Morong Hai stroked his beard in contemplation, quickly recalling that the Tian Baguang you spoke of was once a disciple of the Jinyang Blade sect, but later betrayed his sect to become a wandering villain. After sneaking into Xiong Mansion, he had killed several bailiffs, which was why the matter had been reported to the Qingyun sect. This old man will send people to make some discreet inquiries. If you, Disciple Lin, require any further assistance, do not hesitate to speak. To this old man, finding practitioner of the internal breath stage, a mere wandering villain is no great burden. You need not stand on ceremony. This junior does indeed have a favor to ask, though it is a private matter. Speak freely, do not hesitate. My family has a tradition. Each year we must perform good deeds to accumulate virtue, so I would like to borrow some of your men to open a charity house in the city and distribute porridge and rice. This action was naturally a ploy to help Bing Dazi find the person he was seeking. Since he wished to find the little beggar, by the time the little beggar arrives, you can activate your heavenly mandate Divine Eye. Not only will you locate the target quickly, but you'll also secure a prime investment opportunity. Even if the harvest isn't massive, it remains a certainty that even a mosquito's leg contains meat, and your words have successfully earned the old man's favor. Young friend Lin, such kindness is truly rare to behold. Bring the wine. I wish to drink heartily with young friend Lin, the old man declared, as the atmosphere of the banquet grew increasingly jovial and warm. The elder and the youth drank until the world seemed to fade away. After a long while, the way they addressed one another shifted to that of sworn brothers. "Brother Lin, your tolerance for alcohol is truly impressive. You flatter me, Brother Morong." Morong Xiao, who had been ignored like thin air until now, watched the scene in a daze. This did not seem right. If Brother Lin calls grandfather brother, does that mean I would have to? Morong Xiao let out a long sigh as the banquet gradually drew to a close. The following morning, as you stepped out of your chambers, you were met with the sight of servants bustling about the estate. Morong was personally overseeing the labor, and upon catching sight of you, he waved enthusiastically. "Young friend, you are awake. I have already secured grain from the Hongtong Trading Chamber. The charity station will be constructed shortly. I have troubled you greatly, Patriarch Morong." As you spoke, you withdrew the banknotes you had prepared from your sleeve, adhering to the family teaching that one who performs acts of charity must not offer up Buddha's flowers to Buddha. I hope the old master will not refuse. To be able to utilize the reputation and manpower of the Morong family is enough. I am already deeply grateful. Old Master Morong initially intended to refuse, but seeing the sincerity on your face, he had no choice but to accept. Young friend's benevolence leaves this old man feeling truly ashamed. After speaking, he summoned a passing steward, telling him to rouse Xiao and instruct him to personally spread the word throughout the city. That day, across the main streets and narrow alleys of Yangfu City, Murong Xiao beat a gong, drawing the attention of many. Lin Zhen, disciple of the Qingyun sect, has descended the mountain to perform good deeds. All displaced persons may line up to receive rice porridge. The location is at the Murong estate, and at the corner of the wall before the small tavern, a beggar with disheveled, matted hair watched the receding figure of Murong Xiao, and beneath his straw-like hair his eyes glinted with a fierce, malevolent light. This person was none other than the notorious Jianghu bandit Tian Boguang. At this moment his heart was filled with countless questions. He had traveled from Yangfu City, having disguised himself as a beggar. By all accounts, the people from the Qingyun sect should not have known of his presence. Yet, the moment the opponent arrived, they began distributing porridge as an act of charity. No matter how he looked at it, it seemed to be aimed directly at him. From this, he concluded with certainty that you had been tasked with hunting him down. Thinking of this, the murderous glint in his eyes grew even more intense. Could it be that the Qingyun sect wants to use me as a whetstone? To sharpen their inner disciples? Are you not afraid that you will snap your blade instead? Tian Boguang was extremely confident in his blade techniques. After all, what he cultivated was the blood slaughter blade technique. Each time a soul was reaped by his blade, his technique would grow that much more formidable. Furthermore, he intended to take your head as a tribute to join the assassin organization Suiyu Pavilion to test your true strength. He handed a string of copper coins to the young beggar beside him, ordering him to touch the hem of your garment while he went to receive the porridge. Because the coins were coated in a specially crafted fragrance, only specially trained rats could detect it. The young beggar happily accepted the money and departed, joining the long queue that had formed in front of the charitable station set up at the gates of the Wrong estate. You were as busy as a spinning top, both personally distributing rice porridge and observing the crowd with your heaven's mandate divine eye. Some were faking poverty to receive aid, others were scholars who had failed their examinations and were experiencing the bitterness of life, but the person you were looking for remained nowhere to be found. Could it be that the young beggar was not with the others, or was the information from Bingdazi flawed? Just as you were deep in thought, a young beggar of about 7 or 8 years old tugged at the hem of your robe, and you immediately handed him a bag of rice. Can you carry it? I can carry it. Great philanthropist Lin, thank you. That's right, have you ever seen a beggar with very bright eyes who speaks with a stutter? Is there a wound on your chest? Hearing this, the little beggar instinctively asked, Do you know the young lady who stammers? Your eyes brightened as you prepared to ask further. The little beggar suddenly covered its mouth, running into the crowd with a panicked expression, yet its information remained clearly visible within your heavenly fate divine eye. Commendable indeed. I had not yet set out to find you, yet you delivered yourself right to my doorstep. At that very moment, the little beggar had already arrived before Tian Boguang. After reporting the information about you, Tian Boguang intended to dispose of the little beggar. The moment he drew his blood blade, your voice echoed from behind him. Tian Boguang, you look nothing like your portrait. Startled, Tian Boguang spun around, eyeing you with a look of intense vigilance. How do you know? There are many things in this world that you know nothing about. As you spoke, the opponent's information materialized before you. Glancing at the system's analysis, you stepped beside the petrified little beggar and gently patted its head. Do not be afraid. Leave this place at once. The little beggar snapped out of its trance and nodded hurriedly. Reaching the end of the alley, it looked back. And although it did not fully understand what was unfolding, it vaguely sensed that the benevolent Lin from the Qingyun sect was a good person, while the one who paid for its services was a villain. In its panic, it snapped a twig underfoot, causing the atmosphere in the narrow alley to grow instantly tense. Playing God and acting like a ghost? Daring to face me alone, today shall be the anniversary of your death. As the words fell, the blood blade in his hand lunged toward your chest. You perceived the blade whistling through the air, carrying a razor-sharp killing intent.